know where your towel is. That's really important.
I'm in the country on that particular date.
Is that a
Right.
Sorry.
No.
It smells like vinegar, though. But
Who, me? Oh, no, sorry.
Jared smells
Just,
like vinegar again.
FYI.
Sorry, guys, I'm
Well, the
doing
nice thing
this
is that, like,
baking soda
you and I can do
experiment.
this.
I didn't even read that part.
What's wrong with you? What part did you read? That's the end of that sentence. What's wrong with you? I'm not talking to you anymore.
What's going on? What happened?
I don't know.
My brain's
passed away.
broken.
My millennial's broken.
Yeah. It doesn't.
Ooh, I forgot
plug
we had
in
a chat
something.
room.
I has
green.
colors.
It's green.
We have a chat room?
Yeah, remember that conversation last week?
Oh,
I
yeah.
don't remember having a chat room.
You tuned out?
No.
Uh-huh. Okay. Is it because Tim and I were fighting?
Nope. I love conflict. I don't know what you're talking about.
I was going to say, I know you like it when mommy and daddy fight.
Conflict drives the story.
Well, did something.
What's up?
Tars, we must have a Ben, even if it isn't Ben.
Oh,
Miss you too.
this heartfelt moment brought to you by...
Bodies.
Tars, you're talking about hosts with iPads.
Sure.
Nobody has iPads. It's just Carrie Ann on a computer. And the buttons are a bit tiny,
Do the intro the same way.
I have a shirt.
I think we get
but they're not
paper
terrible.
note things.
Hi,
Can I just introduce you guys by name, or do I have to give like a thing?
Ben?
Well, I think we want to leave the name banners up a bit. So
But I mean, like, do I have to give anybody like a title? Like, this is Jared from
Right. That's what I'm
Jared
saying. Benjamin.
Benjamin.
He also does not have ears
He's
in.
probably
He's
gonna
really
say.
busy.
He's
Apparently.
probably
He
gonna
has
say.
real ears.
he's so busy.
He'll
They're
probably
so
say
tiny.
yes.
Have you seen them?
He'll probably say yes because it'll leave more time for people to actually read the name banner, and also like it's nice.
I could do
add-on.
first, middle, last. Just what's your middle name? I don't want to know.
William?
Oh my God, you're so not a William.
Is it really?
Yeah, it really is William.
Jared
William
William
Head.
JWH?
Yeah, JWH. I like that. That sounds good.
JWH.
J-Dub!
You're gonna hurt yourself. JW.
I'm like
hurts
one
himself
half
sitting
of the
still.
James Webb Space Telescope.
Yep.
Cold and expensive.
So is the James Webb Space Telescope.
Yeah.
Hey,
Hey!
save it for the show, lady.
Sorry, I'm funny all the time. I can't help it.
Sometimes it just spills out.
We need professional-ish titles to call everybody. So Jerry is astronomer tomorrow. You are
But we haven't. I don't know what I am.
Really? Do I have to? Do I have to be
Carrie Ann.
professional?
Right hand.
No, you just need a professional title, Stooge. That's what he's saying.
Yeah, but that puts a lot of responsibility on me to actually be an adult.
No, it doesn't. There's only one part you need to know about. That's it.
This is Jared, so we're doing that. So it's their title as it pertains to tomorrow and not in life.
Oh my God! Can Carrie Ann be our barista in residence?
aerodynamicist at one point.
Yeah, but that's exactly like, holy crap, what just happened in my chat room?
Yeah, no, mine too.
Yeah, I saw that.
Just like all caught up or something.
Yeah, it was like YouTube decided to join in.
Here's everything.
Right, but that's
Sarasota, Florida.
Oh, Christian's here. Hi, Christian.
that's the question though, right? Like,
Who would
Who
like
else
to?
is here?
Who wants to be who?
Hello,
Who
Internet.
wants to be what? What would you like? How would you like to be referred?
Hi,
Well, my
Dad.
OG title is Astronomer of Tomorrow, so.
Swanama tomorrow.
And I'll take it, because that is
all you.
my wheelhouse on the show, at least.
There's that word again.
Thank you! It's a Jupiter! Ooh, it even smells like ammonia.
That's me. And Carrie Ann, what would you like to be?
I just like Carrie Ann.
This is Carrie Ann, the resident.
I have been fighting that one
The resident Ben Tamer.
forever.
What is it? What is it? What
Ever
Ben
since I
Wrangler.
What
started.
did we used to say? The
No,
How to train
I've never
your
liked
Ben.
that either.
okay.
Nobody ever asked Carrie Ann what Carrie Ann wants to be called. I will give you a hint. It's my Twitter handle. It's my chat room handle. Just Carrie Ann.
I was like, wait, what is?
That's it.
Like Madonna.
Yes.
Like
Bono.
Like Madonna.
Or
Or
Cher.
Sting.
Formerly known
Right.
as Prince.
I mean,
Or
I'll glyph
Obama.
it. That's fine.
And Lisa,
Lisa?
Payload specialist.
payload specialist. I like it.
At least on this show. I mean, the nice thing is that if we have different experts on different stories per show, then we can call those people those experts on that show. See what I'm saying?
Yeah, that makes sense.
We're live already, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just grabbing the link to throw on Twitter.
Throw it.
Oh, yeah, I didn't tweet the show. Whoops. 6
Can
minutes
you
out.
hear me?
Oh, man, Tesla
right,
referral
well,
program is
I'm getting
ending.
ads now,
I'm gonna get my
apparently.
Tesla.
Thank you for all of those extra letters, Peter Quinn.
President.
You decided to not, for some reason, put a dash in there like most people like to. CARRIEANNE. That's just a lot going on there, man.
Payload specialist, right?
Yep.
Okay, cool.
This is true. Dad Dog does, in fact, call me C. I can attest to that. Actually, quite a few people call me just C,
Oh, the fish is.
I mean, it's
which I
bigger.
think is fine. Payload and science specialist?
That's a mouthful. Payload specialist.
Science specialist? I feel like science specialist is better than payload specialist.
All right.
You disagree? It's your title.
No, that's fine.
Well, that's the question. Is it the title forever from here on out?
No.
Or is it just for this show? Because, like, just this show, she's more of a payload specialist.
The idea is much like Jared is the astronomer tomorrow, and that's
Right.
kind of his title. That's how this will end up being. Having said that, this isn't fixed yet, right? So we can
Right.
change it.
Right.
So nothing's set in stone.
I mean, science specialist makes more sense. The fact that I'm like on the science
Also
show.
the science show. Science specialist.
Science specialist. That's very. That's very
Broad.
Science.
I know everything, about,
everything about
science.
science.
All of it. All at once.
How much about science do you know?
Every single thing.
Every
I
single
know the S.
thing?
I know the C.
How
I know the I.
What about,
Thank you,
Question,
Peter Quinn.
guess, test.
CARRIE-ANNE. You missed the silent cues. I mean, if you're going to do it, man.
Why
I
is
feel
Alex
like,
ranting about no launchy?
I don't think he's ranting. I think he's just putting it in all caps, much like everything else that we have.
Like all our comments.
There you go.
Oh, man.
yeah, we can hear you. So, what
Ben,
does that
Ben
say?
still can't, though.
I don't
ears
even,
in?
whoa,
I
did you
do.
see that?
Alright.
It went like,
I wasn't.
Although I
like-
don't hear anything at the moment.
Oh,
that was amazing.
I do. I've heard everything.
Okay, now I do.
Because Jared didn't turn off his mic when he went into the bathroom
When?
earlier.
I did not go to the bathroom.
Well, you
we
were
had
running some
water.
sort of water.
Fish tank?
Well, yeah, I was getting my
He was in the galley.
my Mountain Dew ready to
Sure,
go.
we'll call it
really
that. I
not-
don't really
Yeah,
care.
we moved the fish tank, everybody.
No, it's piss.
It was very heavy.
When you
I just want to
say
say that it was very heavy and I moved it by myself. My back is not
warm.
happy with it
It's
right
sterile, and I like the taste.
Ben, camera 3
What
looks
was
like
that
it's
from?
falling
Dodgeball.
over.
because she was told she needed to move it, and then she did.
now. Yeah, I was just doing what I was told.
Yeah, but like ask for help. That's how people
She got it up the stairs all by herself.
without water in it.
Well, I had to get all the water out, so like I had to use a couple trash bins because they didn't actually have a container that could hold the 30 gallons. And it took me all
Most
day.
of that water. Okay, I love you. I don't know why.
Bed for like 2 weeks.
It's just like the child I have at work.
Well,
Literally said something to somebody the other day of like, "Why are you doing this the hardest way possible?"
No, it's not even close.
the thing is that I didn't want to
My
like
side
waste
needs
the
to come
water
down.
because that's already the right chemistry that the fish are used to. And if I
Yes.
had to just taken all the water out and refilled it from the tap, like the fish might have like got a shock and died. I didn't want that.
Whoa, that's wild. I didn't know that could
camera-
happen to fish.
Dude, fish are so deadable.
I haven't had fish as pets in like 25 years. So,
Wait,
These are my first fish,
You 25?
no.
so I'm learning a lot.
Oh my god.
I had them in kindergarten.
You're 30 for
And I named them
driving.
after, I had 4 of them, and I named them after the 4 Galilean moons of Jupiter.
It's weird that it looks like it's straight on camera, but it's an optical illusion with the background and everything. It just looked like they were falling off screen.
Okay, I'll buy it.
is Dada in a red shirt? No.
Oh,
This is
does that
Lisa.
mean I'm gonna die? Because that's
Wait,
Richard.
how did people get Dada and
Is
Lisa
that the question?
mixed up?
Hi, my name is Lisa. I'm the science specialist of all the science, apparently. Speaking of science, if you stick around,
Biologist?
I mean, no, I like science specialists because I know a little bit about other science. Like chemistry. I did biochem.
Oh,
Quite a bit in
chemistry.
undergrad.
A red shirt like like the British?
Chemistry.
No, I think like Star Trek.
Me and
Yeah.
chemistry do
I
not
could be
have
the voice of the community.
a good.
The voice of the community.
God.
Yes.
I'm
That's
just
acceptable answer.
not a
There's a
fan.
science
All
episode
hearing.
today, and I'm really excited.
Sean Devine would like a shot of the fish. You want to shoot the fish, or you just want to see them?
Are you like?
They're fine. They're just in a completely different room now that we do not have a camera.
Yeah.
I used to
Luckily,
have a
they don't
camera
have
on
to
them.
watch the show. So
But that's currently over there because I was done. I was done.
I love you all. My name is spelled Cariann. I don't know why everyone keeps putting extra letters in it. I have
It's fine.
20 letters in my name, and none of them are E's.
what's up? People keep putting E's in your name?
20 letters if my full name. Not a single one of them is an E.
Oh, okay, cool.
If I'm a science officer, does that mean I should be wearing green?
The science officers wear blue.
It depends
Right?
on which series you're going with.
Oh, Orville, of course.
Oh. No, that's medical.
Red and black.
Oh,
No,
no,
they
isn't
have two different. They have two different badges. I only know this because I just watched an episode.
no
They're,
spoilers.
like,
I'm 2
green,
episodes
but
behind.
their badge, like one of them is the science thing, and another one is another Swoopy Doo thing. But they're both green.
The Swoopy Doo division.
It's time.
So
Wow, I hate you all.
Everybody wipe your drool off your face. And get the gunk out of your eyeballs. It's first string. I just realized I can't hear anything.
sorry.
I can't hear so as soon as we go up is when I can start. There's no
So if it
mute.
goes black, just shut up. And then when you see yourself, start talking.
Not like I've been doing this for over a year.
No, still love you.
One more time, maestro. Well, hello, friends. Welcome to Tomorrow. My name is Jade, and I will be your resident person sitting in a chair. This is Jared Head. He is our resident astronomer of Tomorrow. I have here Carrie Ann. She is the voice of the community and our resident Ben Wrangler. And, of course, I have Lisa, our lovely science specialist. Today, we're going to be talking about a whole lot of fun stuff, including, well, you know what? I'm actually just not even going to tell you because it's going to be a surprise. So welcome to Tomorrow. This is Orbit 12.04.
Good morning. How's everything up in the sky?
So the graphics are set up. Automation broke because he tried to follow along. He was like, shit! And so he hit forward.
sorry.
But then, no, it's all right, it's all right. You've never done it before. So, just a quick little, just welcome. So up front, just welcome. We're going to be talking about the news stories you voted on.
Okay,
'Cause
cool.
You voted on Strata
Yeah,
Launch,
because
right?
I didn't want to mention something specific in case we dropped it.
Yeah, but we're definitely doing Strata Launch
Got
because
it.
they voted on that. So
We're talking
I don't have
about
a
the
choice.
Strata launch.
Strata Launch. We've got Oppie.
Are we too
Blue Origin.
Remembering Oppie.
Are we gonna get our note things?
Oh crap! I forgot the note.
Rip in peace, Oppie.
Yeah, we're gonna delay a moment so I can get you guys your note things.
All right, cool.
So while I'm doing that, figure out what to say in the cold open.
Coffee talk.
5 minutes, everyone.
So,
All right.
5 minutes.
Hi, welcome to Tomorrow. We're going to talk about this stuff.
Yeah, which
then-
stuff are we talking about?
We're
Talking about Strata Launch
Strata launch.
because the community voted on that.
community.
Y'all
voted
wanted
on
to see it, so y'all are gonna get it. Tomorrow, gonna get it to you.
Yeah, DMX. So glad
Right.
that happened.
Yeah.
So we were talking about Strata Launch because you, the community, voted on that. We're also going to be discussing stuff about what's up with Blue Origin.
Yeah.
Yeah, what's up with Blue Origin? What? Carrie Ann made a pun. You're welcome. It's just a bad joke. What's up or what's going up? What's up or what's going up? with Blue Origin.
Blue Origins. Just kidding.
What?
What's up, Blue Origin?
Inside the capsule of Blue Origin?
No, that's no. Boring. That is boring. Otherwise, it could be like, and we're going to list a whole bunch of crap for you that's going to be in a capsule.
So I do an overview of the stories before I introduce y'all.
But not like a super overview, like...
Oh, just like mentioning this.
Right, because the nice thing is that, like, if you present it as a question of, like, hey, what's up with Blue Origin lately? Like, that sort of thing. Because then it's like, oh, wait, I heard there was a Blue Origin thing. Or, oh, man, I haven't heard there was a Blue Origin thing. And then, as opposed to going, hi, we're going to list for you the crap going up in Blue Origin. BFD, then.
You've ever watched YouTube and gotten an ad?
Yeah.
And you got 5 seconds?
Yeah.
And you're like, I don't care.
Skip ad.
Right. That's what you have to
They're going to skip the intro. Just kidding.
Oh, that's what you have to
No, okay. It's like,
so give the excitement.
Yeah, no, I know.
For the stories.
Got it. Well,
Like,
the thing, so
entice me.
I'm
Make
just
me
trying
not
to
skip
think.
your ad.
I know
Holy
that, but I'm
smokes.
trying to think of like which ones to specifically mention that we're for sure Z's going to cover. So Strata Launch is one.
Strata Launch and Blue are the first two, so most likely they're
For
both
sure, we're
Strata
tracking
Launch.
off
So those I would say are probably the
What's
ones that people
up
are
with
watching
Blue
for as well.
Origin?
So,
And then
because Big Rocket and then people in Rocket.
Origin doesn't like.
Oh no, I
You don't
know.
want to skip your ad.
Okay, guys.
How do you prefer it, then?
But I'm just saying that's what you.
That's precisely what I'm
Well-
saying. Like, it either comes off as, like, the most boring thing of, like, and then we're going to spew a bunch of facts at you, which is boring.
Right.
Or, like, we have a question, but then
Blue
what's
Origin's
the question?
making some exciting progress.
Are they?
Well, yeah, right.
We'll also be talking about Blue Origin, who are going to be carrying people into space by the end of this year. OMG.
Did you get to see Blue Origin flew this week?
Yeah. Blue Origin actually flew, and they recorded it.
They did it
That's
live.
true.
Yeah, they did do it live.
Because it depends what. I guess we're going to be talking about all of it, but because with Blue Origin, what are we talking about? What's our angle specifically with that?
Well, I mean, they flew NASA experiments, and
Yes.
this is one step closer to
Yeah, it
actually
is.
putting
Yeah.
real
They made some
flesh
exciting-
bags of meat on board.
Yeah.
So,
They flew for a customer.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Should I? But I feel like that's
They
a
didn't
lot.
just have mannequins.
But that's a lot to mention in the
Right,
open,
but
though.
that you encapsulate that
Get that.
into what you want, what you say real quickly. To get
Blue
the
Origin,
interest.
one step closer to sending us flesh bags to space. Did that get your attention? Is that good enough for you? Oh, I don't like this.
print it!
I don't like this job anymore. Just kidding.
What's the chat room think?
Is the chat room a fan of flashbacks?
Others are firing. Blue Origin is hiring.
Wow, there's some shade being thrown if I've ever seen it. So I'm
Others
just
are
going
firing.
to sit here and not say anything.
Blue Origin is hiring.
Hey, firing could still be a good thing to Wicked. You fire
take this-
engines, do you not?
Oh, wait, so we're
That's
talking about
true.
Strata Launch, Blue Origin, and then which third one do we want to be confident about mentioning? Or
You could just do two.
and then just be like,
Strata
and
Launch,
so
Blue
much
Origin,
more.
and more, yeah.
Okay.
And so much more.
So I do that first, and then I introduce everyone?
Then you go, this is tomorrow,
Right.
12.04.
Oh, we don't. Oh,
We do the
got
open,
it. And
then we come back from the
introduce
open
y'all
and be like,
without-
hi, this is all of us.
Duh, get your brain inside of your head.
Oh, you're good. You're fine.
Hi, Zantek. The first person to spell my name correctly. Yeah. Beth, Space Mike very specifically decided to take a little bit of time to do some stuff that is not tomorrow stuff. Although he will be back for Launch Minute in this coming week. So he's just been really busy, is really what it comes down to. And, you know, we have a tendency to rotate just about everybody else, but poor Space Mike, we pretty much make sure that he's on the show. Dude deserves some time off, man. Like, this takes up a good chunk of your weekend.
He's been furloughed.
Chuck. Aw.
Tomorrow shut down.
Yikes.
I don't work for the government. You can shove that.
Worth it.
Yeah, we're doing cuss cutting, so we had to get rid of the TV.
Wow.
Yeah.
Got
Well,
an
I mean,
extra
wires.
TV.
we let Space Mike go, so we did get rid of 10%
I wanted
of
to
our
spend
staff.
time to whittle
So-
these down, but we just didn't have it. So I'm sorry, you get walls of text.
Oh, dang.
Jeez.
Okay.
I've got it for you in case you
Paper
want
is so tactile.
Why did you get resume paper for this?
it. I feel like the thicker paper is easier to handle on air.
Okay.
Can I make a really good paper airplane out of it?
Yeah, you really
Later.
All right, are we in a better place now?
Whoa, there's multiple sheets.
I believe so.
Throw it out.
Yeah, let's
what
do
we
that.
need to do is we need to make it so that all of the notes fit on a half sheet and then we fold the paper over. But that didn't happen this week.
I
Lord.
love the notes for opportunity. Just saying.
Launched. That's all that was in the say. Those are all the more notes that we had in there.
I'm just gonna put my notes
Actually,
over
I do
here.
have the launch footage from it as well, and the launch footage is amazing, although I don't know if we're going to get far enough along, because it was a Delta II launch, and this is like old school 1970s control room from a 2003 launch.
Nice.
I mean, it's exactly what you pictured.
It looks like
Gemini.
1953 is what it freaking
really
looks
does,
like.
It really does. All right. Are we good? We're happy with the intro and whatnot?
Yeah, so I just want to get the sequence. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I got it.
We're
I got it.
The cold open.
Hi.
Just a hook.
Welcome to
Then we
tomorrow.
got, boom, here's our open, then we're like, here's who we are.
You voted, we listened.
You voted, we listened.
Stratolaunch.
Who's voted off the island?
Oh, are we introducing
is
after
spoken.
the open or before the open?
After.
The open.
Okay,
That way we don't break the automation.
Blue Origin.
Cool?
Yes.
Great. Let's try this again.
I just
Cool.
met you.
And this is crazy.
Students.
Deploy my high gain.
Well, hello there, friends. Welcome to Tomorrow. This week we've got some exciting news on the docket. You voted, we listened. We are going to talk about Stratolaunch. And also Blue Origin launched recently, and they actually recorded it. They are one step closer to sending us flesh bags into space. We're going to talk all about that plus more here on Tomorrow Orbit 12.04.
Good morning. How's everything up in the sky? Stand by.
And hello there, friends. Some real quick introductions. My name is Jade. I am your resident person sitting in a chair talking to you at the camera. This here's Jared. He is our astronomer in residence of tomorrow. I've got here a Carrie Ann, and of course, she's the voice of the community, as well as our resident Ben Wrangler, and of course, our lovely Lisa, our science specialist. So we're just going to go ahead and dive right on into it. So you folks voted about what you'd like us to discuss up here, and it looks like Stratolaunch is something that's on a lot of people's minds.
Yeah. So it's really been a big news item the past couple of weeks with everything going on with it, just because there's been like some big shifts and other things happening with it.
So what happened?
Well, Stratolaunch was announced in December of 2011, and if you don't know what Stratolaunch is, it was a venture by Paul Allen and Burt Rutan that really actually started in 2010, and it's a carrier aircraft, and that carrier aircraft is the biggest part of the Stratolaunch system. And if I recall correctly, it's actually the biggest airplane that's ever been made in
By
terms
wingspan.
of by wingspan.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, we're not talking about, what was the one, the loosey-goosey, the sprucey goose?
the Spruce Goose,
Right? Because that one was like, that was...
Hughes.
Right. That was a totally different thing. The nice thing is that, what Ben did, in case you missed it, there was actually a news section of like what we would normally do on the show of just presenting, and Ben kind of took that out of the show and put that in its own thing. So, but you guys voted on it, which is really amazing. And so, like Jade said, we listened to what you said, and we have the news that that Ben presented, and then we're talking a little bit more about our opinions on the Stratolaunch sort of situation. One of the questions that I had specifically was the Stratolaunch, the whole deal was that you have this huge plane, right?
Yeah.
And then you've got the rocket that essentially like drops down from it and then continues to launch.
Like
Right. Air launch,
Galactic.
right?
Yeah. So
like Virgin Galactic. That was exactly
I was
what I
gonna
was
say.
thinking.
Originally in 2011, they actually had a specifically designed SpaceX Falcon rocket that they were going to use called Falcon Air, which was only going to have 4 engines, and it was going to do about 6,000 kilograms to orbit. So that was their original plan, but then they cut ties in 2012 with SpaceX and said we're going to go do our own thing. They started to work with Orbital Sciences to develop a new type of rocket called the Pegasus 2, and then that
Orbital Sciences, which became Orbital ATK,
which became
Space Division of Northrop Grumman.
Orbital ATK, a space division of Northrop Grumman.
But so, like, why like Virgin Galactic, or sorry, Virgin Orbit kind of thing. So is this a viable option for launching small payloads? Like, because I feel like if Stratolaunch was already doing this way back in the day, like, why aren't they already doing it now?
Exactly.
See what I'm saying? And or, like, why isn't Virgin Orbit already doing it by now then? See what I mean?
Well, I suppose it's just timelines. You know, Virgin Orbit's starting from scratch with what they had. Stratolaunch was trying to start from scratch, but they didn't end up succeeding all that well. So now they've actually gone to the Pegasus XL vehicle, which is a launch vehicle that's already flying. They usually attach it to a Lockheed, I can't remember the name of it. It's
L-1011.
L-1011, thank you.
TriStar.
Yeah. Nice. And they attach it to the bottom, and then they release it, and it sends its payload off into orbit. And you can do low Earth orbit, equatorial. You can do sun synchronous orbit with it. And really the advantage of air launch is that you can hit any launch azimuth or any launch direction that you want to, because you don't have to launch from, like, say, Vandenberg. You can actually go out over the ocean, like 1,000 miles to the west of Vandenberg Air Force Base, and then launch from there. So and that's advantageous.
But that's exactly my question. So, like, actually, Daniel Palmer off of YouTube in the chat room says, Strata is dead. It failed the end. Moving on. It failed the end. Sorry, I was trying to, like, read it and not reading it correctly. But that's the thing. Like, okay, so it sounds like a great idea. Why hasn't this happened? And why hasn't Orbit, like, is it money?
I mean, and also
Paul
development.
Allen didn't have not money, though.
And development time, too. Stratolaunch tried to develop their own rocket through someone else. To work with it, it just didn't end up working out. So, and that's
they had this grand plan too, to not just have one type of rocket, but they were having multiple types of medium class launch vehicles that they wanted to do, and they even had plans to do a space plane. And so I guess I don't want to be like, oh, that's their downfall because they decided they wanted to branch out, and then once they split their resources over all these different variants.
Like, look how cool that is.
I mean, it's cool, right? But if you can't even develop, like, your first launcher that you can start putting payloads on and earning money, what's the point of diverging and trying to build a space plane and a medium class and a heavy class and a, like, medium and a half class, because you're just spending all these resources to do multiple things and not getting any money for it.
What's the phrase? Jack of all trades means you're a master of none.
Yeah.
That sort of idea.
And now they've had to compromise by going back to Pegasus XL. And the thing about Pegasus XL is that it's expensive. I can go
$50 million.
I can put my payload on a Virgin Orbit Launcher 1 for 1/5 of the cost and still get the same amount of weight into whatever orbit I want to put it in.
Right.
So why would I go to Stratolaunch and end up doing that?
So Beth says, look, Paul Allen also died, and that's a big thing. He was funding it personally.
Yeah, exactly.
So, like, so what's happening now? Like, do we think that this is going to be a thing? Because they continue to have, like, even just this month, right? Earlier this month, they were like, hey, we got the fastest.
They did a taxi test.
Yeah, a taxi test down the runway. They even there you go. They even got the wheels slightly off the ground for a hot minute.
Huge.
It is huge. There's no semi truck for to see how big it is. But
it's big.
So I mean, do we think that that's going to be? Do we think that's going to be a thing? See what I'm saying?
I mean, I want to believe in Stratolaunch because I think the plane is really cool, and I know they've spent many years and a lot of funds trying to make it happen. But, like, I think the fact that they keep, chopping and changing what they're going to put underneath, and working with different companies and then trying to do their own thing and then going back to the Pegasus XL, like, when you keep chopping and changing like that, I don't think it bodes well for your company's future, rather than just kind of, sticking down the one development path, because every time you have to restart again, like, that's wasted hours, wasted time, wasted money, and wasted talent.
Sure. So, Lucen Grodin, I apologize if I'm butchering that name off of YouTube, says, why is Stratolaunch manned? Couldn't it fly higher if it was automated? Actually, I don't know that it is piloted.
It is piloted.
Okay.
One of the things is that obviously you are limited in how much weight you can carry, and you also have to carry that fuel up as well for your rocket. And
Is the Pegasus XL a solid or a liquid?
yes, Pegasus XL is solid. So,
Well, there's a couple of advantages there compared to Virgin Orbit then, because Virgin Orbit, it's doing air launch as well, except its rocket, the Launcher 1, is like, it's liquid fueled, right? So you've got to take your cryogenics up there, which, you know, there's a whole other level of complexity there because, you know, you've got to try and keep it cold, or you've got to worry about boil off. And I think the way that Virgin is doing it is they're going to fuel on the ground, fully fueled with your liquid propellant and oxidizer. They're going to fly up, and then anything that boils off, they're just going to let it boil off on the way. But then, does
it actually get that?
Solid?
Does the plane itself actually get that high? Then? I'm like, am I misunderstanding something? Like, you only have to get so high, right? And then the rocket just drops and goes on its own.
well, there's only so high you can go before your wings stop generating lift.
Exactly.
Especially if you're trying to carry the weight of a rocket up to altitude. I think with Stratolaunch and Virgin Orbit, it's basically 40 to 50,000 feet in that regime there. That's a nice regime because it gets you above most of the weather that you would have to worry about. So you get a nice smooth deployment and a nice smooth initial launch with it. Also, you've got a thinner atmosphere, so your rocket has a little bit of an energetic advantage, so it doesn't have as much friction to contend with. And then also, you know, you can get your plane up at a little bit higher of a speed, which means you get that extra oomph of speed from your plane as well. So it gives you just a slight advantage in all three of those areas over, say, like a ground launch. But we're very far and away from having like very medium to heavy orbital class rockets being carried by aircraft.
Well,
so.
Andy Cowley in the YouTube chat says just put a space shuttle under it.
Oh yeah, that'll do it.
That's fine.
So.
Although John Ellis responds with, you're thinking of launching a Dream Chaser from Stratolaunch, Andy Cowley.
Yeah.
Oh, that would be cool.
That would be really cool.
I think that there was actually a plan to potentially use Stratolaunch as a Dream Chaser launcher. So
interesting.
Yeah.
Baby shuttle under a gigantic space plane. That would be the cutest space launch ever.
You know, it's really funny because the shuttle, one of the transport options that they were developing for it back in the day was two C5 Galaxies attached to each other, and it looks a lot like the Stratolaunch carrier does. So
really, the idea is
history
not that
repeats
far-fetched.
itself.
Just tape it together.
So yeah, just some duct tape.
Yeah, just some
All right.
Really quickly.
Nice. So what's going on with Blue Origin? That was other big news this week, right?
Yeah, they had their 10th flight of New Shepard, and it was carrying 8 different science payloads for NASA. We got the launch here. Let's check it out. Oh, I love that drone shot. That's so cool.
Dude, any drone shot seems to be just freaking awesome.
Well, I mean, yeah, that's true as well. So these 8 NASA science payloads got to fly because of the NASA Flight Opportunities Program, which I feel like I'd heard of before, but I didn't actually realize. The good thing is they got to have their payloads back because this is a reusable rocket.
My gosh, I love that shot, that tracking shot of it coming down right at you. It's just so wobbly.
It's also, it's scary. Look at that thing.
It's headed right for us.
That is magnificent.
Where's the rocket?
I feel like I
there
would
it
be
is.
more comfortable, in this capsule because, it's kind of like the Soyuz where it has the, retro fire thrusters that, make a cloud of dust to make you touch down at, 1 mile per hour or something.
Right.
And I know that this and Soyuz is kind of the same, and they look the same as they're coming down, but this one just feels like it would be a smoother ride.
Yeah, it just looks nicer.
Yeah, compared to Soyuz coming down.
Also, more room inside of it, too.
And giant windows.
Yes.
Yeah, lots of room. Lots of room. And huge windows. Those windows are like this. They're gigantic.
I think they have the record for the largest windows that have at least passed the Kármán line. So I very much like
those windows are bigger than most cars.
Yeah.
That's very true.
You know what I'm saying? Sincerely, the windows are this big.
Yeah.
You can go on cruise ships with smaller windows. Like, they're huge.
Yeah.
They're absolutely gigantic.
Yeah, I mean, the windows on the cupola of the International Space Station are pretty big.
good call.
But these windows are bigger than those, if you can, like, imagine that.
Right,
I mean, we've
right,
all
to put
seen
that in perspective.
If you haven't seen the images from the cupola before, like, Google International Space Station cupola, and it's just a beautiful, beautiful thing that they added onto it. And yeah, those windows are big, but compared to the New Shepard windows, they are tiny. Those things are, like, you could literally, like, go up right into it, you know, and look at it. So maybe it's like flying a Dreamliner, you know, like when you fly a Dreamliner for the first time, one of the things you notice is like, whoa, this window's big, you know, 'cause they're bigger than other airplanes' windows out there. So
the payloads on board got a fantastic view as well, and there are 8. They all have acronym names, so like I do have a cheat sheet here
Here we go.
because
Yeah,
who
let's
is going to
look at our cheat sheet
memorize?
here.
Who's going to memorize the eight acronyms?
Well, actually,
well, we don't do acronyms here.
Exactly. So I have to explain
yeah.
them all. My favorite one was they have a model propellant gauging experiment. Basically, they're trying to solve a problem here where if you are in space and you've got your propellant in your tank, so you need to know how much propellant you have in the tank, because if you try to start your engine and maybe all the propellant's not back down at the end where the engine is, and you get, you know, not the right amount of propellant flowing into your engine, you're going to have problems. And you also need to know how much is left, because you don't really have, you know, you can't go to a gas station in space and top up yet.
Yes.
So
We're working on that.
The way that this experiment works is they take sound and they use sound to try and send sound waves into the tank, and they get to see whether the fuel is sloshing around everywhere or whether it's actually settled down at the bottom of the tank where you want it to be.
That's cool.
So they use little piezoelectric sensors on the sides of the tank, take multiple measurements, and then you know how much is in your tank and where the location of the fuel actually is.
Nice.
That's kind of like when we use earthquakes to measure the interior of the Earth.
Yeah.
So where we use the seismic waves traveling through the Earth in the different times that they arrive at different places on the Earth to figure out the interior structure. So that's really cool.
Yeah,
So,
I didn't
oh my
even
God.
realize it was similar to that.
Yeah, and you know that's what InSight's doing on Mars as well with
Exactly.
its single seismometer.
Wow, it's like nature knows what it's doing or something.
Yeah, what?
And then we just copy what they're doing.
Yeah,
and
it's like
science.
we know physics or something.
So weird.
Yeah.
So, I don't
That's
know.
funny.
They also had a vibration isolation platform, so I guess if you're doing science, you don't want the vibrations of the rocket to actually mess up what you think your experiment is doing. So this platform stays like bolted to the structure of the spacecraft while it's like taking off and going through the high G parts of launch, but as soon as they reach microgravity, the platform detaches, and then the experiment could just kind of float around in its own little inertial frame of reference, and then you don't have to worry about the spacecraft vibrations getting in the way.
It's an experiment in a box.
A floating box.
A floating box. Wow.
There was another experiment that looked at the electromagnetic field inside and on the outside of New Shepard, which used just commercial off-the-shelf sensors to measure the electric and magnetic fields. And apparently, what they think is cool is if you get everybody starting to do suborbital or orbital launches and you put these magnetic field sensors like on the outside of the spacecraft, once the frequency of everyone doing suborbital and orbital launches expands from multiple points around the globe, you can use these measurements to take almost like a global snapshot of what the Earth's magnetic field is doing. And I don't know, you guys might have like heard rumors of, you know, the Earth's magnetic poles are going to like flip over soon. We didn't actually understand enough about the...
That's an area where the magnetic field really drops down and you get a lot more exposure to cosmic radiation in that area. No real solid explanation for it yet, but I mean, like when Hubble flies through it, they can't take data because it just basically overloads the systems on board. So they help us figure out that. So
Interesting.
cool stuff.
Yeah, really cool.
They had an experiment that was originally on ISS that basically just takes photos of plants that have fluorescent proteins in them. So the plants are going to glow a certain color, and they have these cameras that automatically take photos of the plants at certain points over the microgravity flight. They just had to fix the timing on those so that they could take the time at the right time, because suborbital is a very different environment to being on the ISS. So that was pretty cool. We have another one that's like looking at think about like a PC computer and it gets like really hot. And like if you're a gamer, potentially maybe you have a water cooling system in your PC. Well, the next step up from that is something called embedded cooling, where instead of like flowing water through your PC to cool it, you actually flow a non-conductive fluid through like the boards themselves to cool it down. You can't do that with water, because if the water leaked everywhere, all your computer boards would like get fried.
Yeah, it's not good.
He might
Bad
have-
news,
Water and
typically.
electronics doesn't work very
Especially in
well.
spacecraft, that's
Well, then
bad.
how do they clean it? I'm just kidding.
Oh, wow.
The problem with this is that it's a two-phase flow, which means that there is the liquid phase, and then it actually changes state to a gas, and that's how it removes the heat from the system and keeps the electronics cool. Except we don't know enough about how that happens in microgravity to know is the gas and the liquid going to flow exactly the same way that you expect. So that experiment is basically boiling this non-conductive fluid through some electronics that are really warm and seeing like how it actually cools the electronics and whether it flows how it's supposed to, and whether we can use that to cool down electronics on spacecraft.
Very cool.
Very interesting.
And maybe
What are we using right now to cool everything down?
usually it depends. Like a lot of spacecraft use radiators to get rid of a lot of their waste heat.
Yeah, the International Space Station uses ammonia as their heat transfer fluid.
Got it.
Yeah. So they pump ammonia through these massive radiators that then go through parts of the space station where heat's exchanged and then dumped overboard. Although they've been
the
a little.
Russian side uses water.
Yes. Yeah, the Russian side uses water, so it's a combo of those two.
Got it.
There's been a couple times where the ammonia pump on board of the International Space Station's actually failed, and then they have to go out and fix it.
Hack away at it.
Yeah, get your hammers.
Got it.
Hammer and sawzall, and just go outside real quick. So.
They're also testing another type of green propellant. It's called AFM 315E. Great name.
Yeah, good name.
But it's 45% denser than hydrazine. It has a greater ISP. And because it's denser and it actually freezes at a lower temperature, you don't need to keep it. You don't need to worry about keeping it as cold as something like hydrazine. It's also not as terribly toxic as hydrazine.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you start breathing the fishy smell of hydrazine, you're in danger. It's not safe to really breathe that.
I've heard the old joke, which is that they say hydrazine smells like fish, but nobody's lived long enough to confirm it. So,
Once you smelled it, it's too late.
That's sad. Is that a true thing though? Once you smell it, that's it?
I don't know.
I think
I don't really want to be a part of this.
No, but you know what I mean? That's very sci-fi, sort of it touched me. Oh, you're doomed. That
that's
kind of
it.
thing.
You're done.
Right? Interesting. I mean, I understand that hydrazine's not good, and I also understand that we have electronic smellers that can analyze what, and be able to tell us what it does smell like. But I'm wondering, just out of curiosity.
Yeah. Well, if you know, leave us a comment.
If anyone has
If
anybody's
you've
huffed
ever smelt it.
If you've huffed hydrazine before, leave us a comment below
We're
and
not
tell us what it smelled
condoning
like.
this.
No, not
Don't
huffed
go
it.
out and do it. I wouldn't recommend it.
if you
Oh yeah,
happy
Tickle Stuff
with your
asks
face.
what smells like almonds. I don't remember.
Cyanide,
almond?
right?
Is it cyanide?
I think it's
yeah,
cyanide.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
don't ask me how I know this. So,
Nope, Beth answered cyanide. Whoops,
Okay.
sorry, that was the wrong thing. Don't mind. I'm not pushing that one anymore. Okay, cool. So, what else do we have? We were talking about. I apologize. I totally lost the chat room for a hot minute. I'm sure some of you also had some issues with that. So that's why I was so quiet for a while. I was trying to do all of those sorts of things. Opportunity. That's what we were talking about.
poor Oppie.
Our favorite memories of opportunity. So the thing is that we were talking a little bit before the show. Ben was like, your favorite memories of opportunity, and quite frankly, I was like, why are we doing this? And he's like, well, because most likely opportunity is gone. I said, sure, but most likely opportunity's been gone for weeks now. This feels like
Months. Literally half a year.
Yeah.
So.
no pun intended, but it feels like a dead story. So I was trying to figure out why we were doing it. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure. Especially my planetary people,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
That you guys have some fond memories
And
of
plus-
Oppie
Yeah,
in general.
R.I.P. Oppie.
We haven't had
So-
an official goodbye.
Yeah, not
Kind of
yet.
like with Cassini. Or
They are.
That's true.
So they are still trying to get in contact with Opportunity, one of the Mars exploration, the only Mars exploration rover that had been operating up until the middle of last year, 2018. Now they're looking for signals both in X-band and S-band being transmitted at the same time from the antennae, multiple antennae that are on Opportunity, and they're basically doing what they call a sweep and beep, which is they're basically trying to find it as much as they can. At this point, they think the internal clocks are so out of sync that it may actually have battery power once the solar panels get blown off, but the clocks are so out of sync that it's not gonna go, hey, I should wake up right now.
Interesting.
So it may actually just stay like a zombie state on the surface of Mars, where it's awake but it's not communicating.
Is there a way to sync that up?
No, it has to do it itself. So yeah.
In theory, if we got a human over there, they also could not tinker it to make it go?
No, they should be able to tinker with it to make it happen. So
just curious.
Yeah, so we could.
I don't know. I don't have any special plans.
Wait, can we send Mars 2020 over with like a USB stick and like plug that into like?
That would be great, but that's like 1,000 kilometers traverse in order to pull that off. So that might be a little difficult. So. But, you know, that dust storm that killed Opportunity, or presumably killed Opportunity, was the biggest and most vicious dust storm in at least recorded history that we've had so far.
These graphics are crazy.
Yeah, this is the propagation of dust across the surface of Mars. And you know that dust storms here on Earth are rather localized. You know, you get some dust coming off of the Sahara, it may make it over to the Amazon, but it really doesn't get all that far. On Mars, because of the thin atmosphere, dust is able to get carried all over the place and literally envelop the entire planet in a choking layer of dust in the atmosphere. And that's essentially what happened. The dust cut off the sunlight, and then Opportunity, which runs on solar panels, was not able to generate enough power, and it went into a low voltage state, and it basically turned itself off to preserve itself. And it would have probably stayed on with its heaters on. I also found out about this, I didn't know this until last year, which is that there's actually little pieces of uranium inside of Opportunity that act as like a backup heater in case the actual heaters die. It's not like a lot of heat. It's like just barely enough to keep Opportunity above the temperature of death for it. And then also they were hoping advantageously that in dust storms, because there's material there to actually be thermally conductive, it actually gets a little warmer when a dust storm happens. So they were hoping that would have kept Opportunity a little bit warmer as well, but haven't heard from it. So
got it. But say it wakes up, you know, with all of the experiments currently going on, or all of the kind of science currently going on Mars, if it wakes up, what data, I guess what I'm asking is it worth the data that it would send back?
Yes, absolutely. So having an operational rover on the surface of Mars is super important. Their Opportunity and Curiosity were basically our geologists that were on the surface of Mars. You know, sure, a geologist could do what those rovers did in about 15 minutes, but at the same time, those geologists aren't there right now.
Exactly.
So this is what we've got. And this is Endurance Crater, where Opportunity was at, and very large crater. You know, you could see the rim of it on the other side, far off in the distance, and it was basically looking at an area where water had been flowing for very long periods of time before it died. But there's some really great memories that I have of Opportunity, such as its landing, when it landed in January of 2004, using that airbag system, and it just so happened that it bounced across the surface and then rolled into a crater. So we literally launched it from Earth. It traveled, you know, hundreds of millions of kilometers to Mars, bounced on the surface, and then it rolled right into a crater. That's like the best hole-in-one in golf you could ever think of.
Yes, I remember that day like it was yesterday. I was in the 6th grade. Mr. Benedetto, fantastic teacher. He was so just... like, he had so much passion for NASA and space exploration, which as a kid I didn't quite appreciate as much as I would have now.
Sure.
But I remember we watched it. We watched simulations on the NASA website in the computer lab. And I remember even as a little kid, like, this can't be real. Like, I thought I was just watching, like, this could happen someday in the future. It's like, no, this is going to happen. And it happened.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's like, I think we all kind of experienced that when we were kind of, well, a lot younger, obviously, 2003. But
and the thing about Opportunity is that a couple weeks beforehand, Spirit had landed. And those twin Mars exploration rovers, the entirety of their mission was basically to go and find evidence that water had once been there. So Sojourner, the first rover in '97, was basically, will a rover work? So, and it did. So then they said, okay, now we want to follow the water, which is sort of NASA's policy on how they do science on the surface of Mars. So the Mars exploration rovers are there to try to find evidence for that water. Spirit landed, opened up, took photos all around itself. It landed in the middle of a volcanic plain. The basalt everywhere, basically nothing that would tell you that water had once been there. So Spirit basically landed in the worst possible place that it could have. And I don't want to say that there was disappointment from that, but Spirit ended up having a much harder life than Opportunity did, because when they opened up the petals and they took all the photos inside of Eagle Crater, which is where Opportunity landed, literally on the other side of the crater, bedrock with influence of water in it.
Nice.
So they literally drove like 15 meters to get the evidence of exactly what they needed. So Opportunity was just super lucky in where it landed at. You know, that kind of luck is just fantastic.
That's
kind of what happened with Opportunity, because you know, Spirit had a lot of parts break down and it really had to fight for all the science that it did. Spirit did end up finding evidence of hydrothermal activity on the surface of Mars, which is really cool. So we know that there was water and a source of energy, and Curiosity ended up finding SNOPs, carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, oxygen, phosphorus, sulfur. So Spirit went to an area where the three things that life needs were present there, but you know, it broke down and then it got stuck and then it died in 2010. But Opportunity was able to drive over literally an entire distance of a marathon, so over 26 miles. I mean, that's a lot if you think about it.
It is.
So,
it really is.
It's a lot for a mission that was only supposed to last for 90 days, 3 months. And we got 14 years out of Opportunity. So that's impressive. Like, I know people who went through multiple cars in that time period, you know.
I learned how to drive in that.
So if any of us are interested, we happen to have some old footage of the launch.
Yes.
It's not even on 35 millimeter, although it probably should be. And the best part is that Ben showed me this last night, and I was like, wait, when did this launch again?
2003. Yeah, July of 2003. Look at that, huh?
Did they launch on the same rocket and then they separated later in orbit? Or?
Oh, no. Each Mars exploration rover launched on their own rocket. So, yeah, they got their own rocket. And that's a Delta II in the heavy configuration with the really big solids on it there. Big ground start solids. So.
So the part that I was freaking out about was that you can see up in the upper right-hand corner there, I forget if that's the chiclet or the bug, but it's one of those things. It says NASA TV. But you will notice it is not in the shape of a meatball. It is also not in the 80s fantastic NASA worm logo. It's just it's probably Helvetica, honestly. Just as NASA TV. And I was like, wait, seriously, how old is this?
Well, I mean, they used Helvetica on the space shuttle, so it makes sense.
No, it makes perfect sense. I was just really confused. I'm like, apparently I was not following any space things during this time period. At some point, we also get to see a little bit of their mission control, I believe it is, and I about died.
Oh, there's the air starts. So there go the ground
It really
starts.
is beautiful. Night launches are gorgeous.
Yeah, I had a friend who was at this launch, and he said that from the position he was watching it at, it launched and then it arced out and it headed towards Mars in the sky. So it was rather prophetic. So with that there. All right, I want to see mission control because you said that this is like...
It's so like 1950s, 60s, like...
Has everybody got pocket protectors?
Just about. Like, you know it's not the 50s because not every white dude who's in there, old white dude, by the way, is not wearing a white shirt, button-down shirt. Some of them are wearing a couple of colors, but I'm serious, man. Like, I looked at that and I was like, I clearly have no concept of when this is at all.
Yeah, this Delta II was a three-stage Delta II. So they had the solids and the first stage core, and then the second stage with it, and then a solid third stage as well. So this was about as souped up as a Delta II rocket gets, and yeah, chucking a payload to Mars. So just another typical Thursday.
I just got a note in the host chat room that. It's the provider that offered that, not the official font. Got
gotcha.
it.
There go your boosters.
Wait, so they had solids that lit on the ground and then solids that lit in the air?
Yes.
Crazy, right?
Huh. Does anyone else do that? I
don't think so. If I recall correctly, I don't think anybody else did that at that time. I want to say, but that was this was back in 2003, so And Dutta, correct me if I'm wrong. With this version of the Delta 2, I almost said Delta 4 Heavy. With this version of the Delta 2, it had 9 solids, 3 start on the ground, and then 6 start in the air, if I remember correctly? Or is it 6 on the ground and 3 in the air?
6 start on the ground, 3 start in the air. This one used the GEM46, which is a 46-inch solid. Spirit wasn't the heavy configuration. It only had 40-inch boosters.
All right, well, there you go. Thank you, Dutta.
Also, you will notice, like, way back in the day, look at these cameras that are on the frickin' vehicle.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's fair.
Right? Like, pretty much the whole way up.
Yeah.
Like, that's gorgeous.
Yeah, it's 480p, but I mean, it still looks great.
Whatever.
So, that looks great.
Back in the day, that was the thing.
Wait, what?
They just need some on-screen graphics and they'll be fine.
Oh, wow. Maybe like a vertical timeline?
Yeah, that's right to the state.
Yeah, it's nice to see cameras that don't cut out.
I'm getting another note in the host room. It's 480i.
Oh, 480i,
not
excuse
P.
me.
Interlaced,
Well,
not
I'm just going to
progressive.
say, it's nice to see cameras during a launch that don't cut out.
It's nice to see just about anything, honestly. Wow. No, there was static. You can shush your mouth with that one.
Shut down on stage 1.
See? Static. Not saying just
but
saying.
I mean, you know.
Yeah?
Oh my gosh.
This is what I'm talking about.
Holy moly.
What is this? What is happening right now?
Wow.
Dude, Santa Claus is running that stuff? Like, I don't know what's happening
Oh, they got them
anymore.
all the way from the North Pole.
Dude.
In July.
It looks like they're
times.
flipping switches.
Yeah.
Like, there aren't even screens in there. That's why I was like, wait, when did this go?
Quick, we need to switch these cables.
That's how it felt.
Throw the third switch.
Press the red button.
Dude.
They yell it out as they do it.
Loopy Dragon says that's LC, or Launch Complex 17 Blockhouse. Delta 2 was controlled from a building just a few hundred feet from the pad. Okay, so Blockhouse, which typically means that they're concrete reinforced, sometimes underground.
A bunker, basically.
Yeah, a bunker.
A bunker that can take the hit.
Dude, crazy though, right?
Could
I was
you
looking at
imagine
that
being
like,
in there and like, we need the code 13, 34,
Dude.
7. You know,
unreal.
There, so.
Amazing, absolutely amazing.
That was a nice blast from the past there.
Totally.
Pretty cool.
Vintage.
It's vintage dated.
Amazing.
And I bet the blockhouse still looks like that.
It's probably sealed because of asbestos. To be fair. So switching gears a little bit. Ultima Thule.
Oh,
Yes.
Right? So right around New Year's, right? Miss Lisa here did an awesome, and well, Jared joined, and like we had a lot of people. Athena was calling in. I know somebody earlier was asking about Athena. She'll be back next week, by the way. Did a really amazing, like, overnight sensation of the Ultima Thule flyby. This lovely snowman in the sky.
Yeah.
There you go.
Look at that. Wow.
So here it is now, Jan 26, or 26th of Jan,
Yes.
2019, as
Yes.
it were. And we're starting to get some stuff back, right? We're starting to get some pictures, some data, some something, but like only something.
Yeah. So the images, which I believe that's the one up there, are getting pretty crispy. And we're starting to discern some really interesting surface features. So that's what we started with. And it's a little bit reddish, you know. And
Natural color
exactly.
in this, by the way.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah. So, Jared, do you want to explain perhaps where that reddish color is coming from? Or
Oxidation, right?
Yeah, so it's kind of oxidation. It's from what we understand with these kite-propelled objects, especially what we learned from Pluto and the flyby of Pluto, which New Horizons did 3.5 years before this, is that if you expose certain ices to ultraviolet radiation, it'll redden them.
Exactly.
And that's basically what we're looking at.
Tholins, right?
We don't know if it is tholins or not
Okay.
yet because they haven't released any data about the composition of Ultima Thule. So we don't know.
some cool photos to guess upon.
So, I mean, this is similar to one of the reasons we call Mars the red planet, right? Like, it's the same concept.
No.
Mars is rusty.
Yeah,
Mars is
Mars is
rusty.
iron oxide, which is like similar to rust.
And Ultima Thule is just
this is
in bad lighting.
It's like a byproduct of the reaction of what is it that is
on Pluto, it's methane reacting with the ultraviolet light.
And then the particulates that kind of
and then it rains out as like acetylene and ethane and other things like that down to the surface. It's really weird how all this carbon and hydrogen just like snaps together, and well, it's not weird, it's science. And then it just rains down to the
Sometimes science is weird.
Yeah. But it's bizarre because we don't know what type of ices it's made out of yet. If we look at Pluto, Pluto had a lot of nitrogen ice, methane ice, carbon monoxide ice, carbon dioxide ice, and water ice on its surface. But this is significantly smaller than Pluto.
Exactly.
From basically tip to tip of the lobes there, it's about 34 kilometers in size. So not particularly big, but large enough that it's going to yield enough data that we should have a good understanding of it. So.
Okay, and we're getting some of that data back now or no?
Yes. Yeah. So right after the flyby, there was a solar conjunction, which basically means that it went on the other side of the sun, and we couldn't talk to New Horizons because there's this big ball of plasma in the way.
So annoying.
Rude.
Yeah. Rude.
So annoying. Yeah.
So we had to wait until it came out on the other side of the sun just a couple weeks ago, and then start getting the data down. So. But it's taking a really long time.
It takes a very long time, in fact. Much slower than the old internet connections.
Yes.
And but similar to New Horizons, once this data starts pouring in, the revelations are probably going to be pretty exciting. This is the furthest, most distant object we have flew past.
Yes.
And what's going to be really interesting is kind of studying how bodies like this basically exist out there in the far reaches of the solar system, so far away from the sun's influence in terms of, for instance, when you get a comet that ends up ends up coming along by the sun, you get a lot of outgassing, you get a lot of ices subliming and whatnot. However, this is so far out that this is literally kind of like a snapshot of what the solar system might have been like in its earliest days of formation. It's basically like a time capsule because it really hasn't changed since the beginning of the solar system because it's been preserved basically cryogenically, like Mr. Freeze.
Yeah, and with Pluto, you can't do that because Pluto is not the right kind of object for us to understand the origin of the solar system with. And same, to kind of piggyback on the comments with comets. We've studied a lot of comets like Vil 2, Temple 1, Hartley, Borrelli, Churyumov-Gerasimenko, like a whole bunch of comets have been studied. But the chemical interactions with the sun basically doesn't completely ruin all of the things that have been there since the formation of the solar system, but it changes them enough that we can't definitively say whether that was there or not. We could say this is what happened in the evolutionary history of this comet in its nucleus here, but nothing like Ultima Thule, which is what's known as a classical cold Kuiper belt object. So what does that mean? That basically means that it orbits in the ecliptic of the solar system. So there's a plane that most of the material of the solar system formed in this disk of material. And some of the objects went out of that plane, like Pluto. Pluto is not a classical cold Kuiper belt object because it is tilted quite significantly compared to the ecliptic of the solar system. And these classical cold Kuiper belt objects are within the plane of the solar system, and they've interacted with Neptune's gravity enough that they basically stay far enough away from the sun that they're never touched by the solar winds being the primary influence. Now, ultraviolet radiation, sure, yeah, that's very clearly done some work on the surface there, but that's not enough to ruin the preservation of the material that's there. So this is unbelievably exciting. To really kind of get this snapshot of what the solar system was like in its infancy, when it was that nebulous cloud before everything formed fully. And with New Horizons, they're hoping to find an even further out Kuiper belt object to try to study that as well. And they're going to hopefully get that mission proposal in this summer. And as far as I understand, even though New Horizons is sending data in its downlinks, when they have to take breaks because the Deep Space Network, you can't hog the Deep Space Network.
Exactly.
Other missions want to talk and get their data down. During these periods when they're not downloading, they're aiming their long-range imager, I think it's called LORI. They're aiming it in the direction that they're flying to try to find objects. So they're already working on trying to find something else to fly past even further out.
Well,
so.
they got it. I mean, that thing is traveling so fast now at a rate of, what is it? Now it's up to how many kilometers per second?
I think it's somewhere along the order of 12 kilometers
I was going to say, I think it's up to 12 now, because it was about 10
It's not
when
in my
it flew
notes,
by.
so I can't tell you.
Yeah. It's moving really quick, so fast enough that a dust grain would basically obliterate, vaporize it, essentially. So, yeah, and that's another thing that they're doing out there too. It's not just the flyby of Ultima Thule that they're working on. They're also taking in like radiation data, dust count data, and other things like that in an area that that this level of resolution in these instruments has never been done before. Like, sure, the two Voyagers sent data from this area, but that's 1970s technology. That's not early 2000s technology like New Horizons is. So,
And what was it? LC-17 technology. That was really amazing. Awesome. Well, okay. So for those of you who may have forgotten, this is our space show, but we also have a science show today.
We do.
So, which is why we're wearing the science shirts. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to give a huge thank you to all of our supporters. I'm going to start off with our Escape Velocity citizens. These people give us $10 or more per episode, and they help us do lots and lots and lots of things. In fact, there are more things coming at you, and I will talk about that in the next slate, which is the Orbital citizens. These people have given us $5 or more per episode. One of the wonderful things that you help us do is not just maintain having this set and all of our very fast and apparently very stuttery internet this week, but you also help us do things like, on the suborbital citizens as well, help us $2.50 or more per episode. Obviously, you all get your names in the show. What you also help us do is have the space show as well as the science show, and then have things like the news segment that is kind of busted out onto its own thing that lets us have our own commentary show.
New Year's live streams.
Exactly. Oh, yes, New Year's live streams. Then there's also the ground support citizens that are $1 or more per episode. And there literally is a note in here that says, allow enough time for everyone to be able to find their names. All of you people, of course, help make this show happen. We very much so could not be doing this without you. I'm very happy this is out of my house. I will say that much. And I have a very comfy chair to sit on. So thank you for all of those things. And really, honestly, thank you for supporting us. I know we've been doing a lot of changes lately, and everyone's had a lot of opinions, and we have read every single one of them, and we've tried to respond to them as best we can. But we continue to like to know. We continue to like to know your feedback. There are also other ways you can help the show. You can subscribe. You can hit the little bell on YouTube. We have an entire community of community on community.tmro.tv. Again, lots of opinions over there, and a lot of really interesting, sometimes off-topic things. There's an entire thread about coffee.
Yeah.
I still don't know why, but that's cool.
There's an entire thread about homemade projects you've done.
Yes,
so
really
me
cool.
and Dada have said we built rockets before. Take a look,
Right.
So and people have shown off their art that they've made.
Yes.
With that, and people have shown off the 3D printing stuff that they've done.
Yep.
It's just really cool that we have this community of people that's not only just really engaged, but incredibly creative and willing to throw that out there to kind of show off to everybody.
Absolutely.
So that's really, really cool.
So like I said, we read every single comment. Please continue to leave them. We want to be able to respond and really chat with you. This is your show. We are just here to entertain you.
I mean, you literally voted for a story that we talked about today. So
which is what we're going to continue to do.
Yeah.
So the news segment will be coming up a little bit later, or this coming week, I suppose. Today is Saturday, and then whichever one that you want us to talk more on, or you want to hear our opinions on, please vote for that one, and then it will go into the next show. But right now, we're going to close out, do a little bit of an after dark, and then see you guys up in science. Bye.
Peace.
Woo.
Oh, yeah.
I just figured we were going in after dark. I was like, shit, I don't actually know what we're doing next, but this is what we're doing. Really quickly.
We forgot to talk about next week.
We did, but honestly, it's because it was not in my notes and I can't read it from here. So I was like,
coming up,
that's a thing that we're gonna thing.
Next week we're gonna have Asgardia. We're gonna have Lena DeWin. who is the CEO of the Asgardia NGO organization, and then for the actual space nation that they're trying to create, Lena is the deputy head of the deputy assistant to the administrator of the nation itself. So if you've ever heard about Asgardia and you're like, what? How can you actually make a nation in space? Well, they're actually doing it because they sent up a CubeSat, so they actually have land that they own inside their CubeSat in space. So they're like, technically that counts, and we are a nation state. Although they haven't had any recognition from other, like the UN or anything like that. So we're going to talk about it. We're going to be like, how can you be a nation if the UN doesn't say you are? But then you have people who have signed up and signed your accepted your constitution. So you are a nation, or aren't you? Like, it's going to be a really cool discussion. So that's going to be next week.
I've signed up. So I think me and Space Mike have signed up.
I've signed up too. I just haven't paid my citizenship fee.
Yeah, I haven't paid mine either. So I'm on the run.
All right, not really sure what that means. There was a question very specifically for you, Jared. Yep, that's where we're going. From Daniel Palmer off of YouTube. I don't know if he's still there because apparently YouTube's having a lot of issues. Says, I notice the guy in purple is clearly smart.
Thank you.
Clearly.
I've only been accused of being smart.
I was just going to say, my question to him, if possible, if he sees any problems with having a rocket with millions of perforated holes slammed through Max Q on new Starship. Thanks. Being that you're not a rocket specialist, good luck answering that one.
Yeah, honestly, I would throw to Dutta on this. Dutta's much more knowledgeable about the engineering involved with that.
It doesn't stand up to high winds.
I don't think
different kind
it
of
would
winds,
work out as well as you think it would. I think each hole would end up developing a tremendous amount of drag. And Dutta, correct me if I'm wrong here. And typically you don't want to have like a whole bunch of holes in your rocket as well, because your payload, you don't want to expose that to high velocity atmosphere coming through, or I guess winds or whatever you want to call it. Yeah, I wouldn't do that.
Yeah,
I mean, we do have, if we want to test it, we've got a blower outside that we could give it a go with. I don't know if you can hear it or not. So
I don't know.
Dutta, what do you think? Because this is more in your area of expertise.
You don't have ears. He's talking.
That's true.
I would need more information.
Sorry.
He would need more information. Yeah, well, the thing is that Starship isn't going to be going through Max Q. Starship is just the Starship hopper thing is just like the hopper thing. Yeah, anyway, we have a Dutta cam, by the way. Go to Dutta. Wave Dutta. There you go. Good Dutta.
Look at that. Oh, my God.
Who's that other guy in the background? Creepy.
And then he just comes here every Saturday and sits there. I don't know what he does.
Yeah.
Vax Hedrum says, bored Ben is bored. That's just his concentration phase. It's fine. That's hilarious. So we were going to try something in After Dark, right, Ben?
We were?
Yeah, we were going to move the chairs into a V.
Oh.
That's right. We're doing
and
the
then we talk about something. And we have a topic to talk about if you want.
Which one?
We do. We didn't.
Oh,
we
yeah,
didn't
we
get
skipped
to the.
that one.
We didn't get to the.
Because it was depressing. I was like, I'm not going to end on this one. I'm just not gonna.
We don't post After Dark publicly anymore, so
gonna
if you
get
punt
water.
if you punt topics to After Dark, no one's really going to see it except patrons.
I understand the concept, but we said
Oh,
that we
you
were
wanna
going to
try
try
it.
this.
This is why you watch live.
I wasn't punting it to After Dark.
I was just making sure. I understand. I wasn't.
Okay, I'm gonna grab that and get out of the way.
Get out of the way, Jared.
Sorry, Ben.
So we were having chat room problems, and I had to message and YouTube problems. Wait, but so I was texting you via my computer,
What happened to YouTube?
right? Which is great until my
YouTube
mother
never fails
texted.
us.
I was like, I can't answer her right now. This is not going to be a thing. What is happening?
See, you don't put,
need to,
you don't post
Yeah.
After Dark anymore?
Correct. We haven't for a while.
Yeah.
Well, I haven't been here.
No, I mean,
So I don't know.
for a while, since last year.
Yeah, I was gone like all of December, and then I went into the hospital, so I've missed a lot.
I'll just leave the
Yeah, it's fine.
moving tables away from.
All of the liquid sounds with everybody's mouths.
You
I
like
still
that?
have ears in. Might have to take those out, but I'm not going to take them out. That way I can still hear Dutta. Due to...
I don't think I minded the show going all the way through without a break. I mean,
that's right.
It
was
didn't
that
feel. It didn't feel
It
bad.
depends on the transition, right? Like, I realized really quickly, I'm like, I don't have a segue.
I said you.
Right? I'm like,
Sure if, like, this may not work.
I was gonna say, this is really, I'm getting into it.
Welcome to Crossfire.
Footsies.
oh yeah.
Are we filming in a train?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like it should open a little bit more.
Hi, Slapstick Mojo. Welcome.
Still talking to the community.
Welcome to the
Segway?
show.
Sure.
That's what this is for.
Right.
Ow.
No
Oh,
dying.
that sounds.
Ow.
No dying.
It's all gone
Oh god,
wrong.
it's terrible.
We linger too much on the wide shots as it is.
Oh yeah, we do.
Get away from those. So I'm hoping that this can. But yeah, now we're lit really poorly.
Yeah. I don't
I'm in
care
a
for
shot.
I don't mind being in the dark.
I don't care for this litness.
Show is
Litmus
lit.
test?
That was the litness.
So we're just gonna talk, right?
Oh,
as we normally would on this. Are we gonna wait for the chairs to be in the right spot before we talk?
I'd like to give this a fair shot. So
Okay.
let's just wait for a moment.
All right.
Not in any rush, are we?
No, other than science coming up.
I mean, we
Oh,
have a
it's
whole
a
hour and a
compliment.
half before that.
Hey, I just want to be clear. As demonstrated earlier, Jared can talk for minutes at a time.
Sorry.
I think
No,
that's
I
too
still love
tight
you.
of a V, Ben. If you
Yeah, it
opened
might.
it up, it might work a little
Coffee's
better.
close to my
All right,
heart.
so we need to open the V up a little bit.
That's what she said.
Wow.
Actually,
That just happened.
That's what happens. This is a good angle. This one is.
Carrie Ann
So
said
up.
that. So, yeah.
You too, Lisa. Up.
What do I? Oh,
Ow! All the things.
Oops. Got him.
Yeah,
Z, Z,
shadow
Z,
is
Z,
so nasty.
Z.
You're nasty.
Well, if you find an arrangement you like, you can address
Yeah,
lighting.
yeah.
Yeah. You're not wrong. Not wrong, Dada. Space coffee talk.
Coffee talk.
All right, we're going to talk to little coffee.
Have you
here.
seen that video of that guy who goes
Espresso.
into 7-Elevens with, or like, and he'll take the coffee pot and he'll just start walking around yelling, "Who wants some coffee? Hey, you want some of this effing coffee?"
No.
Oh, it's so funny.
Oh, my
Call the
God.
segment The View from Space.
I mean,
Haha,
right?
it's After Dark. Thank you, Darsim. Off of Twitch.
Wouldn't that be overview?
I am over this view, yeah. Yeah,
Pause that
over.
like that.
Daniel in the house. So.
no. Oh, no, wait. There's a different show. Different show.
Oh!
We have a heater
Oh, we
in
have to
here.
do the voting thing.
But it's going to be warm outside today.
Yeah, but it's
I
cold in
know.
here today, right now.
Yeah.
Tuscaloosa? I don't know how to pronounce your name. I apologize. Tuscaloosa. Says
Scanner
Carrie Ann,
USA?
how you get to buy a table, which I assume you mean is Carrie Ann spelled correctly. Now you get to buy a table, but either way, I'll take it. I don't care. Just saying. Yeah, it is. To Wicked aptly says it's after dark, not after correct lighting.
That's true.
That's funny.
True words have never been spoken, particularly by To Wicked. Just kidding, Wicked. You know I love you. All right, so totally not going to depress-isode of tomorrow, but
It's not that sad.
there's many people who are dealing right now
It's
with
definitely sucked.
Right. So
was
what we're
rough.
talking about is the government shutdown, and particularly how it affects NASA and the rest of the space community as a whole.
Yeah,
really.
commercial included.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So 95% of NASA workforce is furloughed. I can say these words. These are totally fine.
Yes.
Yeah.
And furloughed, for those of you who don't really understand, it's basically like you're out of a job.
You're on a
and
leave.
You're not
basically.
allowed to get another job. So we're not
Yeah.
paying you.
Yeah.
But you can't get paid by anybody else
Yeah.
until we reopen.
You're not allowed.
Good luck with
Pretty
that.
poopy deal.
You're not
That
allowed to
sucks.
touch your work email either. You may not communicate about work or
Right.
anything like that.
Which
so-
is basically true. At the same time, there are certain things. So, like, International Space Station is flying. And there are certain things that have to go on with the International Space Station. Therefore, those people, granted it's a skeleton crew, but some of those people who are like ISS controllers have to come in and,
Yes.
and help monitor some
Yes,
of
they
those.
do.
Yeah, because people's lives are literally.
Yeah, so you're talking about like not being able to work or not working at all, and like that's it is basically true.
Yeah,
like you can't be sitting there all day long.
They're known as essential personnel, and they basically are. You're here whether you get a paycheck or not.
So originally it was 30 days. My understanding is that there's another 30 days in some cases, which is a lot and crazy pants. And it's affecting a lot of different things. But some of the stuff it's not seemingly to affect is DOD, Department of Defense, is unaffected. Which is interesting, but it's also both good and bad, right? Because there's a lot of stuff that's going on, like SpaceX launches from 39A, which is on the NASA side, so it's not on the Air Force side. There's a lot of stuff like that, what does this affect? What doesn't it affect? How good or bad is this for like all of commercial space, et cetera, et cetera? See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Thoughts, opinions?
Well, it's
the FAA is one of the major things, right? Because you can't get like launch licenses or have FAA support when you're trying to launch a rocket.
Just like how Peter Beck said 2 episodes ago on 12.02 is that he said 1/3 of running a company is paperwork.
Yeah. Not to mention some of the smaller aerospace companies had contracts under NASA that I forget which one it was specifically, but I believe they're based in Seattle, had to lay off like just a vast amount of contractors and employees simply because they were relying so heavily on funds from NASA that, all of a sudden were not coming in. So some of the smaller companies, it's definitely taken a big hit.
Yeah, I was even going to say with the FAA, like even on just to show how widespread the shutdown was with the FAA, Delta Airlines was going to start flying their new Airbus A220s, but they didn't get certification in time to start that, so they have to delay for months now to do that.
Exactly.
So and I mean like getting paperwork done and everything. Now there's a backlog, and you're going to have to get through that backlog as fast as you can, and hopefully you don't make any mistakes during that backlog either with it. So not the best. Not the best thing ever. So,
but I mean, shutdown's temporarily done until February 15th. So who knows? We may be talking about this again in a few weeks, but
I hope not. But
fingers crossed.
Yeah, no, I really hope not.
There's 2 things I kind of want to say, which is that one of my friends who works at NASA. A lot of people don't realize this, but a lot of people who work for NASA also get their health care through NASA. And she was unable to get essential health care during the shutdown because the office was closed. So, like, she couldn't get something that was essential for her and her health. But now that it's open, she's gone back and gotten that. But obviously not great. And then also I do work through JPL's Solar System Ambassador Program. We basically got an email that said, if you have any talks, you go do them on your own. You're not doing them for JPL anymore.
Oh,
so until the shutdown's over. So
goodness.
Yeah, and we literally got no emails about any upcoming talks or anything like that because
exactly.
It was shut down. So yeah. So that was a little weird.
Wow.
So hopefully I can share that. Too late now. But yeah. So
that's interesting.
Yeah.
I had heard something about Kennedy Space Center Visitor Center was asking anybody who was working there to help clean up like bathrooms and whatnot.
Yeah, they're asking
because of all the contractor stuff, like you were saying. But that when you don't think about it, that's including restaurants and janitorial,
absolutely,
and that sort of thing.
And you think about the ripple effect of, so all of a sudden you have all these employees not coming into work, and you think about the ripple effect of like the surrounding community. Like all of a sudden restaurants are, not having any customers, cafes, no customers. And so you because these are hubs, like NASA centers are like hubs they're like little mini economies, just a lot of money coming in, coming out, simply just because that's the nature of a place where a lot of people work. And so it's not just the centers themselves, but unfortunately, it kind of does have an echoing effect.
Yeah, and if I recall correctly, JPL was not really affected by it because it's managed by Caltech. So it wasn't really shut down per se. Obviously, things like the speaker bureau, like I do my volunteer work through, were because that's NASA HQ running that. So, but yeah, it was some of the centers really affected them, like Johnson. Others like JPL didn't really affect them as much, and And I've heard some ideas from people that they may actually sort of want to start converting a lot of NASA centers into the JPL model that they have, where it's operated on behalf of NASA by someone else.
Exactly.
So that way they can avoid this kind of stuff during the shutdown.
There's a layer of safety.
Yeah, Peter Quinn off of YouTube even says, who would want to work for the U.S. government? This could happen anytime.
Yeah.
And this is going to be a huge perception issue as well for folks. Okay, yeah. So for, you know, in terms of NASA attracting talent, I mean, when we're just looking at pure stability of, you know, the nature of your job, I mean, who's going to want to have to deal with that? I mean, a lot of families were affected pretty intensely because, God, over 30 days, like, that's a long time to go.
That's
without
2 paychecks.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's 2 paychecks, and then on top of that, like, some of the, even just like, what am I trying to say? I know there's a number of astronauts that are married to like other astronauts, right? So like,
so that's all your income.
It's literally everything that you make now for 2 paychecks. Like that's terrible.
Yeah.
That really sucks.
Yeah, there was a lot of things that didn't end up working during this time period, like the National Science Foundation. So a lot of climate science couldn't be done during this time period. A lot of land management and other things couldn't be done during this period, and that's stuff that NASA data helps out with. So it's really difficult. And also, I don't know if they're getting that data back because, you know, they might not have basically been running anything during that time period because, well, we're not allowed to. So
Not even like recording anything or anything?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I just know that a lot of scientists basically watched their grants that were funding their research evaporate because it was, you know, we can't release the money.
Here's like what I don't get. And maybe because this is America and it's American things.
Yes,
like,
give us your Australian perspective,
okay,
Lisa.
So you shut the government down because you want to like save money or whatever, or political pandering or whatever. So the people can't do their jobs for that amount of time. But then the shutdown is over, they get back paid, and they have to catch up on the work that they missed. So why don't you just let them work if you're going to pay them back anyway?
Well, not all of them are getting back paid. Like the contractors are not.
Yeah, some contractors
so, like, the food
aren't
workers
getting
aren't,
paid.
Janitorials not. Yeah. Like the people who are contracted, they don't.
Yeah. So
also, but to be fair, other than like maybe janitorial, because food service probably doesn't have a lot of back stuff to do. Janitorial definitely would, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, like
by nature of the job, yes.
Yeah, and in fact, when you shut down the government, you're not actually saving money.
Not at all.
You end up actually having to spend more money in order to do that. Although, like,
so what's the point?
Exactly.
Well, that's not really the space part we're talking about, but yes.
I don't know if that's exactly kosher to say on the show because we try to be as apolitical
as a non-American,
as possible,
I don't get it. This doesn't even make sense.
So Daniel Palmer from YouTube says, but man, I still can't do it. Wait, nope, that's another one. There we go. Okay, cool. What does he say? He says, but the government shutdown doesn't affect SpaceX, correct?
If SpaceX is trying to get money.
Or if they're trying to get
contract.
paperwork signed for like a mission that potentially NASA is like paying for.
Or if they're trying to go through commercial crew development milestones. And, you know, that's
what's the next launch that's on the launch pad right now?
8 figures. You know, so those milestones are often worth like $10 to $50 million a piece.
What's the next thing?
And you can't touch that for a month.
What's the thing that they just static fired?
Oh yeah, what is that? DM1, Demonstration Mission 1 with Crew Dragon.
Why are we calling it Demonstration Mission 1?
Oh, because NASA is paying for it. Right?
Oh, okay.
Right.
Just double checking.
Oh, right. Yeah. About that. So, wasn't that supposed to happen earlier this month? It was, but then something happened, right?
I think the government shut down.
Yeah, I think it did. So.
Oh, that would explain a lot of things.
So.
Government fell asleep.
Hey, but it got painted. All right. I don't know. Anything else you guys want to talk about? What else happened this week that we are interested in that we can continue to converse about? So Ben can.
All good. Thank you.
I think we have the data.
Yeah. Okay.
Before I tell you what we think, how did it feel out here? Other than me being distracting, but like.
You're distracting.
I know. But like, as you're facing each other, was it better?
I like this better than what we started with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
This does feel more natural.
Well, when you say started with, mean the slight arc, or you like it better than the hard V for me?
Oh, I don't like the hard V.
Okay, so then do we prefer this over the slight arc, or do we prefer this over?
Do you prefer the
Or
slight
a slight arc over this.
1 or
Kinda
3.
equal of 1 and 3. I hate 2.
Yeah, I like this a lot because there's not as much neck turning that needs to be done, and it's pretty easy to transition from camera to person.
Okay.
And just like looking at the frame, it does look more conversational just because we're naturally like facing each other.
The hard part we're running into, and this might just be a camera alignment thing, is that going from camera 1 to camera 3, there's not a whole lot of variation there, and so it's this weird cut between the two.
Oh, I
and
see.
You have to bounce to 2 to get to 1, and you always have to use 2 as an intermediate camera. I think it might be better if we had a couple individual cameras, which we don't today, something budget. But and I don't know why, but in the slider arc, it felt better to the viewer. What does the chat room think?
They all also hated the V.
Yeah, I think the V was a failed experiment. I don't think anyone liked the V. It didn't work anywhere.
Twickett says turn camera 3 into Skycam. Duh.
Yeah, we could put a system like that in here, right?
Sure, yeah.
Yeah,
Easy.
no problem.
Big sweeping motion.
I mean, I like the idea.
Just a drone?
Yeah, put a drone
Oh my
in
god,
here.
get your drone!
Yeah, that's what we need.
And then you can like attach a buoy to the bottom of it.
Someone joked. I realize I'm not
Wow.
mic'd, but hopefully you can hear me well.
Okay.
Someone joked about saying, it's the view, and I think that's kind of a good parallel to the show. This is the talk show. So like a combination of this will be incongruent, but it's like the Ellen Show, The View, and WWE slammed into one. I know.
We don't have enough fire for that.
WWE.
Hey, I mean,
entrance
I
music.
can help you with the fire.
What?
Oh, okay, I
Just
got
saying,
you.
okay.
I was gonna say I'm not taking my shirt off
Why not?
for this. So
No, just
So-
camera 2 to get to like the camera 3, are you able to switch those frequencies so you're, instead of the center one being camera 2, it's actually camera 3 so that you don't have that having to go there to get to the other one?
no, because the problem isn't the literal number. The problem is you have to have an intermediate shot, so you're not going from a 2-shot to a 2-shot that looks identical. So you have something that's not identical. So it doesn't matter if it's 1, 2, or 3. You still need that intermediate. I think it felt wrong. It didn't feel good. Do we think
It's jarring to go from 2-shot to 2-shot.
it is? It is. Is this? So, what does the community think? Does the community like the very light arc like we did live in the original show, or do they prefer like something harsher like this? Does this feel like, to Jade's point? Does this feel more conversational?
Thanks, Twickett. I appreciate that.
It does.
Say?
You don't want to know.
Oh.
God.
That's intense.
Oh, it's Twickett. I don't always talk in hyperbole. When I do, I really fucking mean it.
That's not an incorrect statement. So
it's all. This is gonna sound bad, but it's all the same to me. So
Does no one else care, by the way?
I feel like this works a little bit better, but also like I'm.
but if the shots are worse, then I think
Yeah.
the semicircle's fine.
It's,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, if you have it at this angle when Space Mike is back, then the screen would be able to fit into that spot that's back there. But if he's not there,
That's true. Like where in this configuration, where do we put a hologram? Back here?
We pull a chair. I think.
I understand that.
Yeah. No, we just pull whatever chair we pull is where we put the hologram.
because you only ever run it for.
I think so.
Yeah,
Oh, I think 4 was a good number, right?
4 is a good
Yeah.
number.
I thought your number was 5.
No,
Remember, we'll have
No
a fifth
more
one with
than
Mike.
5.
The number
So-
was 5. I think 4 is a better number based on today. Is
I
that
think-
a fair statement.
Yeah, 6 is right out.
6 is right out. It feels like a Monty Python sketch.
Yeah, the number of counting shall be
You shall
4.
proceed to the number 4.
And it shall not be 3, except when you then, therefore, immediately proceed to 4.
There you go.
Did 4 felt like we weren't talking on top of each other as much? Well, of course, we didn't have the hologram tech, so there's a problem with the tech.
Right.
But you were all able to finish your thoughts. Right? 4 felt like a good number.
Yeah.
Did we like it? No one cares but me.
I care. Jesus,
I mean,
what the hell? Like, I'm giving you
like
my
this.
opinion.
I feel like if I had a table,
Yeah.
I could put a beer there and enjoy it.
Where's our
That's
beer?
a good point. Like if we got a half round table and we put drinks on it, would that?
Yes, but we won't be able to find a half-round coffee table.
I think 4 or a 5 would be acceptable.
That's true.
Yeah, 4, no more than 5, no less than 4.
Yeah,
4 or 5, that's
what
it.
I'm saying
But
is
4.
I think we average and strive for 4. If we add one more once in a while, that's fine. But ultimately, 4 is the magic number. Never 6.
I think that shot is going to be destroyed if you remove a chair and replace it with a TV.
Yeah, I feel like this config is harder to put a TV in.
You have to,
I think the half circle's better.
down slightly and then put the
Well, but if we put a table there, it's the same effect that we had in there. Is it not? You get the TV low enough. Just as if you're sitting at the half round.
Then take a chair out and put a TV in right now.
Well, we don't have a table. We can't simulate the effect.
Okay, well, I don't know.
All right. I'm not been on this too long.
I think this is fine. I think the half circle's better. 4, no more than 5.
Yeah. Everyone else like the half circle too? Mm-hmm. It's
fine.
Just likes half circle?
It's good.
Cool.
So,
All right.
as long as you're cool with it.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to see. I was trying to make it more conversational, more like so you can make more eye contact and like talk to each other a little bit easier and like understand each other. You know, the way we're sitting right now is not a natural way you would ever sit down and have a conversation with friends. Not actually now is closer to before, right? The half circle or the arc is not a natural sitting formation, really.
not without a table. Like the
Even
table
with a
is-
table, when would you ever sit like that? Ever?
I feel
If we were watching, no,
That would be kind of funny to see.
but if we were all watching TV, we would sit down like that on the couch.
Yeah, you sit in a straight line on a couch. Maybe we
I mean, but you know what? So at home we have the L couch and then we've got the 2 chairs. We effectively have a half circle. We've got a U, right? So and we sit like that the 3 of us sit like that all the time.
Well, I mean, like every TV show, like
That's fair.
talk show or whatnot, usually has either 2 chairs that are there or like a half, so that everybody's there, but they're still able to talk to the audience.
Yeah.
Or viewers or citizens or whatnot.
Yeah, but it's a harder arc like this. It's not. It's not. This is much closer to what you were just describing. It's not. It's not a soft arc on most of those things, unless you're talking about a conference, and then the conference is a totally different thing.
What the heck? What's the name of that show?
Graham Norton.
No, the other one. Graham Norton actually does more like Graham on one side and then like the couch on the other.
but the couch is an arc.
The couch is an arc, but like
there are also only like 2 or 3 people at the end of the couch that generally don't fill the couch.
Oh, I'm just
Well,
reading
the
the.
arc is just a little bit wider than this, like just a little bit more open than this.
Yes, that's correct, but it is not as open as the arc that we normally have. Not even close.
Well, and technically, like
They also sit way
got it
closer
this
to
way.
each other.
You've got grandmas that host over here.
Correct.
And
Oh, I need
you guys are
chocolate.
all hosts.
yeah, go with chocolate.
Anyone need chocolate? Should I just bring the chocolate?
Wait, are you supposed to have chocolate on your diet?
Probably not.
You can't have chocolate on your diet?
I can't have carbs, period.
What?
You can have carbs.
That's
Chocolate has
That's
carbs?
terrible.
that's no way to do a diet.
I thought chocolate had magic.
That's a macronutrient. If you don't have carbs, then your protein's not going to go anywhere.
I
mean,
thought dark
technically,
chocolate was like
I can have limited
moderately
carbs,
okay
but
for you.
Yeah,
not a
it
lot.
is.
To your point, Ben, yes,
Definitely not
sometimes, but
chocolate.
there's a show called like Taste, and they sit almost exactly in a straight line.
Yeah.
So like it does happen. So us widening out this arc a little
look at
bit
The Last
is
Supper.
not terrible. Look
They
at the
sat
Last
in a
Supper.
straight
apparently.
line.
I'm not
Yeah.
saying no to the wide arc. I'm just saying that it
You
doesn't
saying Da
feel
Vinci
it.
was wrong?
It doesn't feel as conversational. I think,
That's all. That's my entire point.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, you're not.
But look, this doesn't work, and no one else, like no one said that this gave them any huge benefit. So I think
Right.
the downside to the
A water cooler.
with a lack of an upside
Oh,
for
YouTube.
studio host play
Right.
is that we go back to the light arc. I don't see a reason to do this. I'm just making sure that like we've actually thought this through and
Yeah.
stuff and things. So all right.
Okay. All right. Do we need to do a post-show breakdown before we set up science?
I don't think so. Post-show breakdown.
The thing that we do after the show,
Debrief.
that we turn the cameras off and we talk to everybody else?
No, we do that after the show, after everything's been shut down.
Gotcha.
After science.
We're going to. Okay. Great. What are we doing between here and science then?
I don't know how long have we got.
An hour.
Oh, we're just talking to the community.
Sure. What's up, everybody?
Hi.
Hello.
Is
Hey, are you a punker?
Hello.
Am I a punker?
I haven't heard
the
that
question was
since
asked.
Junior high.
Yeah, I haven't heard that either. So I
show up
guess
at Hot Topic. Are you a punker?
I just
You like good
Just because you have a
Charlotte.
mohawk?
Lisa, who's the guest?
yeah, that's rather that's stereotyping.
Rose Jones.
But yes, I do listen to punk.
From the Bigelow Laboratory.
I sent my brother a very, very, very inappropriate meme. Can I talk about it?
Yes.
It might be a little offensive. So my brother's a Kennedy, and but he also has a great sense of humor. So
I can do that.
I found this amazing meme of
But,
all three
I mean-
Kennedys in a line in a picture, and it
Advertise
says,
the show.
"Hey, you claim
That's
you
not
like
that
punk?
time.
Name this
I mean,
band."
as that time.
Nice.
Get it?
Yep. I gotcha.
Twitter and
Gotcha.
Facebook.
Kind of like
I
the
thought it was freaking hilarious.
Good one.
T-shirt that looks like the Smiths album, but it only features like Will Smith and family. So it still says the Smiths on it, but it's just
Oh, I love it.
right.
Amazing. But she's looking at you.
Could they ever be used to fully restart and possibly fix YouTube and not lose views?
I don't know how to fix YouTube.
We don't know how to fix YouTube.
Wait, what
It
happened to
won't- yeah.
YouTube?
Are you? Oh yeah, she was in the chat room. Sorry. I was like, apparently it's been bad all. Twitch, yeah, seems to be great.
So then it's YouTube.
You're right. Now
Yeah.
I tried a core restart, so I don't know what else to do here.
Zanchek off of YouTube asked Jared, "Is Mars still volcanically active?"
No clue. There's a lot of surface evidence that says that it has
Let's go
been
and find out.
geologically dead, and InSight with its seismometer will actually measure that stuff. So I'll let you know in about 18 months. So, but pretty much everybody thinks it's geologically dead. So.
Cool. Let's see. Yeah, so there were talks about going back to opportunity. Apparently, there were a couple of people in the chat room who talked about Loopy Dragon said they're sending commands to ignore its internal clock and stuff through, aren't they? And the new set of commands they're sweeping in with it.
That sounds about right. That's when they're trying to hit X band and S band at the same time with it. So.
Gotcha. Darsim suggested perpetual safe mode as opposed to zombie because that's just sad. Peter Quinn then says Oppie is a deceased parrot. And then
It ceased to exist. It
James-
is no more.
No, deceased. A deceased parrot.
Yes, it is ceased.
No! James Dugan said Oppie is just a resting Peter.
Wow, everybody's like
Monty Python today?
Opportunity was
honored. I
tired and
appreciate
shagged
it,
out
though,
from a
so.
long squawk.
Oh, yeah, there you go. Thank you. Appreciate it. Let's see. Astro YYZ asks, are scientists still actively listening for Oppie?
yes, yeah, they are still
All right.
trying. They're trying their best.
And Ailmar? Ailmar?
They are.
Ailmar says, did anyone else follow the Opportunity GRRL live journal back in the day? I loved that blog. I loved that blog. Live journal, yeah.
RRL.
Opportunity Girl, I imagine? Opportunity Girl? Girl.
Goral.
Right?
I know there's a really, if you ever want to like deep dive into it, Mars rover driver, Mars rover driver on Twitter, Scott Maxwell, actually made a unbelievably detailed journal about working on Spirit, literally day by day by day, and posted it online. And it's some amazing and fascinating stuff to read because it's literally 6 years of every single day of working on this thing. So
Interesting.
It's ridiculously detailed, but easy to read, and Scott's just an awesome guy too. So
Yeah.
there's that. So
Loopy Dragon says, oh, by the way, I discovered I was wrong with the blockhouse. I was trying to follow up and figure out more about what building it's actually in, but I put my research in the general Discord chat,
okay,
which is totally
cool. Correction's awesome. So,
apparently, Vags Headroom did, in fact, follow Oppie Girl, so there's that.
that's cool.
Brett off of YouTube says, let the Aussie take a nap. She's fully accustomed to this time zone, thank you very much. Just FYI.
She just wanted chocolate.
Yeah,
Sugary
which she
carb.
shouldn't have, but that's fine.
She wanted something she shouldn't be eating.
Tickle Stuff says, Jared has hair envy. Hair envy of what?
Yeah, of whom?
Or is,
I know
is
what
he
that's in
hair
reference
envy?
to.
What?
Very Freudian. Oh, wait, maybe not. Sorry.
What? I'm confused.
The Freudian You probably know what I'm talking about.
I have no idea
Penis
what people are talking about.
Freud, Sigmund Freud, but it's Mohawk envy.
I don't know what anybody's talking about.
All right, cool.
Go to school.
You.
Read a book.
You.
Explain, tickle stuff. Explain.
Explain to me.
Explain to me.
Yeah, I don't understand that. I mean, I think, do your own thing with your hair, just like your clothes you wear or your style. Do your own thing.
Brush it, don't brush it.
Brush it, don't brush it, back comb it, beehive, but just enjoy it. So do whatever.
I don't enjoy my hair.
You do you. So
I don't enjoy my hair though.
yeah, you wear a hat.
That's some cool ass
fine.
hair, though.
Yeah.
So
You're like Doctor Strange, but cooler.
He hates his hair because his hair is really thick.
Well, okay.
I know.
I bet a lot of men would love that problem.
Yeah,
I
sure.
got too much hair on my head.
And I grew it once to donate it, and then
Okay, so that was a ponytail I saw in one picture that you guys posted at Disneyland. I was like,
it was donated.
A million years ago.
so metal.
nice.
His hair was long when we got married.
Aww.
I French braided it she French braided it for my brother's wedding.
That's
Nice.
rad.
It was awesome.
Nice.
Apparently, Marty the Martian is also on an ultra low carb diet too.
You gotta be careful with those, man.
Seriously,
Any-
I don't believe in any diets now where
Any-
you
yeah.
deprive yourself completely from one
Of
thing.
anything, yeah.
Once you get done,
Don't
Ultra
get me
low
started
carb.
with keto.
Lowering-
Just like, but we're not talking no donuts.
You
We're just
should-
talking like the carbs that you normally get out of fruits and vegetables are fine.
Yes.
Absolutely.
That's
I mean,
reasonably okay.
well, the thing is-
you should.
don't go on a diet. You just need to make a lifestyle.
It's portion
I mean, that is a
control,
lifestyle change, is it
being
not?
aware of what you're eating, and
Exactly.
having a general idea of the amount of calories you need to take in. And if you're trying to lose weight, then the amount of calories you need to burn off or expel.
I see a lot of the time people do diets in order to lose weight, and then once they've lost the weight that they want to lose, they go off of the diet, and then they gain back the weight that they lost plus.
Because it's
So they
not
just-
it's not sustainable.
They go back to eating the same.
Exactly.
thing, which is why that's a diet. But if you're making a lifestyle change, then you're planning to stay with that for the rest of your life, basically.
Mm-hmm.
We're trying to maintain that at least.
We're going to start science 30 minutes early at 12. We get
Oh,
to school then.
Yay!
Nice.
Lisa is taking over the show. Darcy says, I have Mohawk envy. I can't grow hair on top of my head. I apologize.
I was
for
right.
that.
Nothing says that you have to have a mohawk on the top of your head.
This is very true.
There
Daniel
is- there
Palmer
actually-
says, I like shoes, so orange. So
You're not wrong.
there's that.
So-
Actually, if you like blue shoes as well, you may have noticed that Reebok recently announced a partnership with
Yeah.
Boeing to have some pretty cool, super ugly space boots.
they're not ugly.
They're so ugly. I would never wear them in real life.
I would wear them.
Yeah, no
So-
offense, Jared. You're also wearing these. Still ugly.
Okay.
Still love you.
That's like your opinion, man.
It is. Actually, your nail polish kind of matches their blue.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I still want my Delta 2 blue nail polish.
Yeah, why don't we?
I think I'm going to have to like custom make that, but I also
Yeah,
don't
why
know.
don't we just mix it?
Am I getting a pair of them? Is Reebok actually going to sell them? Because if they do,
You know, I don't know.
I'll go for it.
I don't know.
So, it was Reebok, right?
Yeah, it was
I
Reebok.
keep thinking it's Adidas.
No, it's Reebok. But then Nike also just put out some space shoes.
What?
How did you miss that? Dude, Bob Jacobs was all over it today. Or
Today?
yesterday.
Where are they?
I don't know. Look at Bob Jacobs.
Oh, okay.
Aye.
I see Space Jam shoes.
So I could grow 2 mohawks on each side of my head and fly.
Yes, you
Yeah,
can.
I don't see why not. That's
So-
exactly the way that works.
Absolutely. The lead singer of The Prodigy has a reverse mohawk. That's what it's called, by the way, reverse mohawk, where you
Yeah.
have it on the side of your head instead of in the
Xantech off of
So-
YouTube
so-
asked, why do astronauts on the International Space Station never wear shoes on ISS? I mean, I don't wear shoes in my house either, man.
So it's because you're floating about, so you're not walking on anything. So they wear socks. So, but yeah.
John Curvine says, what's happening with the groups that competed for the Lunar X Prize? How many are still going for the moon? And is there any news there? I don't know. And
Girl,
maybe.
This is for you.
Oh, nice to see you, old friend.
Yeah, I think. Pencils down. Pencils down. Pencils
Still
down.
good. It's still good.
Got caught with your pencil down.
I think that Israeli
Got him.
lunar lander is still on the docket to fly,
Oh, it's flying soon, actually.
and that's coming up
Tomorrow
pretty
or
soon.
something.
So
Yeah, there's a couple of them. Xantech says, well, yeah, but they don't even wear slippers. They do wear socks with like some like grippy stuff on them. Like, They wear socks in their house. I think it's okay.
Once you're in space,
Moon Express still killing it, says Travis Neal off of YouTube. Yes.
Oh yeah.
Totes.
Okay, let me get some.
Vax Hedrum says, if I can click on it correctly, yes. Space IL just delivered to the Cape. That's cool.
Oh yeah, there they are. Ooh, those are nice.
Yeah.
Dang.
The Reeboks?
Woo! Those are nice.
Oh, those. Yeah, the Nikes.
Oh, that is good.
That is so you.
It is.
That is you.
It's literally
Very
like,
you.
you know, literally.
That's a really cool
I know,
shot.
that's what
That's
I'm
a cool
saying.
picture.
Yeah, that's a good
Into
one. So,
Digging it.
To do all those things.
all right, how much am I about to spend?
Dude.
Wait a minute.
Well, like Vans just did a push, right? They just
Yeah,
had,
and I got the Apollo 11 pair,
Right.
and I was literally like a couple days before that, I was like, I'm not paying that much for Vans. Like,
yeah.
no, I'm not doing that. And then I saw them, and I was like,
but I have to.
these shoes are $300.
Let's
Get them! So, you know.
Shoes.
So,
These shoes rule.
these shoes suck. Oh, well, they're sold out, so it's not like I can buy them. So, damn it. So,
That's the way that works.
You know,
Sorry.
maybe chocolate isn't such a bad idea.
Well, one of
Chocolate's
you
good.
can have carbs.
so.
I can't.
We got
I
the
live on carbs.
got the Apollo 13 patch on it.
Luby Dragon says I just got back. What did Jared almost buy?
I almost bought some of these Nikes that NASA or these NASA Nikes that Nike put out. They're called Nike PG3 NASA, but they're sold out, so I can't buy them. So.
Prodigal Son, S-U-N, says, so Lisa can't have fairy bread? That is correct. No fairy bread. Can't have the bread. You can have the butter, though, right?
Are you keto?
You can have just butter.
I mean,
She can have fats.
Yeah.
She's been eating
I should
steak like it's going out of style.
In
I'm
moderation.
so sick of eating meat. I hate it so much.
Don't do it. Oh,
It's part of the diet. She doesn't have a
it's keto,
choice.
Yeah, so there's, well,
Technically,
There's
it's
other
like
fat sources.
modified Atkins is what it is.
okay. So avocados, but if you want like a protein source that's fatty, that's
An
not
avocado.
meaty, that's
Thanks.
tricky.
Yep.
An avocado.
I know. I was like, do you guys have a vegetarian program? And he was like,
You're putting that much fat in your body.
and I was like,
There's a lot of vegetarian stuff for super high carb because it's like,
Yep.
Trust me, you don't want
Right.
a gallbladder attack. And that's fatty stuff. So,
Michael Farrell says, are we what we eat or what we war? Where? War?
time to stop eating.
I'm not sure.
Drinking Pepsi.
All right. I need to check.
Never.
We should have a guest in 5 minutes.
change.
So
All right. So then I will leave so you can do that. Do we need a TV, yeah?
we do indeed.
Okay. So
Slash
Jared.
beta.
What's up?
you and I have to leave, man.
And
They're going to be doing their thing.
Get out, ugly.
That's
Just
not
kidding.
our
You're
thing.
not. You're beautiful.
you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
On the inside.
So,
On the inside. How's the configuration, Lisa?
We're gonna have a TV in the middle, and we're gonna have a chair on
somewhat
each
tired.
side.
All right.
I'm still tired from
Is
con.
it in?
Jared, you're going to help me move these chairs because
Yes,
they're
I
heavy.
am.
Thank you.
So,
That's the right call.
brought a whole pair of pants.
We're gonna do it like.
Oh, that's a
That's a
jacket.
jean jacket.
Oh, it's a,
It's a big.
God.
I usually only bring half pairs of pants, by the way.
yeah. Well, those are called shorts.
Depends on which half I'm talking
Are they
Shorts or half
capris?
pants?
Are they?
Wow, these weigh a lot more than I thought. they
I
would.
know. That's what I'm saying. Total crap, man.
Oh,
Are they
Jesus.
coming
Yeah,
in-
they're.
Oh, okay,
God.
cool.
That's why you were helping me. I
Mother
only
of
could
mercy.
get one. I don't know. Over there somewhere.
I'm gonna get some sweet gains here.
Yeah.
Jade, is my form correct?
For the love of all things,
So
do not
good.
break my chair.
Yeah.
I will.
I can
right.
feel the pump from here.
That's it. That's all the arm work I'm doing today.
Bring my little sheetsies.
One of these things is not like the others.
It's a Foo Fighters song.
God, I'm gonna die.
That? How dare you, ma'am? It's a Foo Fighters song?
I'm kidding. It is though.
Yeah, Dunna's gonna beat you up.
It also,
so.
it is though.
But
But I wasn't lying.
Dave Grohl barbecued for a bunch of folks on Friday.
But here's the deal. Sesame Street had that first.
Was that the one you went to?
No, so I ended up not going to Dime Bash.
Ah, darn.
But I'll be going somewhere this evening that will have the same folks. Oh, whoa.
I don't know.
Jake,
All the things have to move.
Oh,
There
I'm
you
sorry.
go.
God,
It's okay.
I'm useless.
Still love you.
Well.
That's right. Set design. Not only do you have to know how to host, you have to know how to build it and also clean up them cables.
Yep.
So that way people don't comment going, I can see your cables!
They're gonna come.
You're so unprofessional!
They're going to.
Disgusting.
Disgusting!
It's kind of the way.
Disgusting.
You know what? I'm sure you know what video I'm talking about.
I need to be
I'll come back in here and I see that some.
what looks good and what doesn't.
I don't like how exposed I am. Jesus.
Do you mean to sit next to you anyway? What's happening right now?
It's like TVception.
Hair in my mouth. Lo siento.
So we're gonna run this like not when Toby was here, but the one before that, 111, where it was like, you know, like old normal science style, where like
Yeah.
you ask a question, I ask a question, and we bounce.
Okay, cool. Is there anything in Rundown?
Yes, there is a. Feel free to use the rundown and be in the chat room because
Cool.
there's only 2 of us, so we can't really delegate
Exactly.
like a space show.
Well, right. But, I mean, the rest of us can still push.
Oh, wait, no, wrong. And what is our guest's full name again?
Rose Jones.
Rose
She's
Jones.
from the Bigelow Laboratory for Ocean Sciences.
Bigelow.
Are we going to be talking about microbes that live in weird places, like miles below the
Heck
surface
yeah.
of the ocean, and
It's so cold in the
in
next room.
damaged mining sites? Is that what I wrote? Contaminated mine wastewater is actually what I wrote.
Which sounds all sorts of icky.
And oh man, I did not read that at all. We only have 1 comment this week because there wasn't a lot to pick from. So
Got it.
we have many questions that I just kind of just vomited into the rundown. So there's that.
I'm still trying to log in.
Oh, to Rundown Creator?
Yeah. What's the email address?
It's just a username, so your name is probably Jade,
Oh, okay.
because my username is Lisa. What the what? Oh no.
Email.
Chat room, come back. No.
No!
Why?
Oh, that's why. I'm in.
Ah.
Log in, Jade.
Okay, well, I think my chat room is working. I don't actually know. Maybe I should just refresh it. I don't want to break it, though. Hello, Rose. How are you?
Oh, I need an ear.
Yeah, you're gonna need an ear.
Okay.
It's alright. You've got 15 minutes.
Oh, it's over here.
I cannot hear Rose. Is she muted?
Hello.
Oh, now I can hear you. Wonderful.
Awesome.
Thank you so much for joining us today.
No worries.
So we've got about 15 or so minutes before the show actually goes live. But this is a great opportunity for us to just like, so you get to learn who we are. I'm Lisa. I'm the one that's been in contact with you. And I have Jade with me as well. She's going to be helping me to run the interview so that I don't have to do all of the things and push all the buttons and make everything go.
Exactly. Oh, I need a thingy.
Do you have everything you need, Jade?
I will in just 2 seconds.
How's your day been so far, Rose?
It's been not too bad. It's Saturday.
Nice. Is it cold where you are?
Yes.
Oh man, I'm not really adjusted to American temperatures yet. So, because I'm from Australia, that's why I sound weird. And so everyone's like, "Oh, it's like 50 degrees today," and I'm like, "What? 50 degrees?" Because in Celsius, 50 degrees is like really, really hot. But over here, it's really, really cold. And so, yep, then I just feel stupid.
No, I'm with you on that one. I don't do Fahrenheit,
Oh, awesome.
but also Celsius.
Yeah,
So.
that's good. I'm glad that we can
Bond.
bond over the one true correct units of measurement.
Whoa, slow down, cowgirl.
Although, to be fair, I guess that would be Kelvin.
Exactly.
So we're all wrong.
We can all bond in our wrongness.
Yep. My chair's not working.
Can we scooch everyone a little closer to the screen? Also, I'm
Oh,
gonna kill.
I need a scooch? Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna kill these.
Aw, where am I going to put
Oh,
my
sorry.
drink that I don't have?
Put it on the other side.
Oh, I've got two! Oh, when did that happen? I'm so excited.
Everyone needs to get
Ow.
closer.
Oh, I got electric shock to the chair.
Is that better?
There? Or closer?
Two drinks, but I call that a prop.
These are heavy.
Ow. So I guess just to get a
Don't sit just yet. Listen, sorry.
bit of background on us, Rose. I studied molecular bio at uni, a little bit of biochem as well. So yeah, my background's kind of bioscience. Jade did astronomy?
Yeah. So I worked at the Griffith Observatory for a few years doing astronomy talks and a lot of things basically having to do with space. And yeah, now I work in the STEM field, but more in a philanthropic capacity. I help students get careers in STEM.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. What?
Oh, I can sit now?
We raised this.
How do I get out of here?
I just need to look at how to bring that down. We haven't moved it.
Yeah. I need another set of hands. I think I'm gonna lift up on it, and then someone needs to push down.
Wait, what do I need to do?
We need to lower the TV.
Oh, God. Okay, what do I have to do?
You can see
Oh,
me
okay, I have a data coming. Yeah.
I'll push up.
Yeah, Rose, you're fine. It's just stuff we're working on over here. Oh my God, careful.
Yep. That's it. Hang on. We can do this. No, we can. Yeah. Okay. One more time. Oh, sorry. You're right.
Scary.
Okay, I think my chat room is working now. Let's see. Wait, what?
It's alright.
Oh no, why is it green? What have I done? Uh-oh.
I'll clean that up in a second once we have working image back.
Turns out if you haven't had the chat room in a few weeks, you don't even know how to use it. Fun story.
Yeah, that's much better data.
So green is only going to be for your lower third.
Yeah, I realized that. But when I was trying to push purple, I hit green.
Yeah. He's working on that because these circles are small.
Yeah, I'm just going to have to hold it horizontally. It's the only way I can do it.
The far right, that had a logo in it for some unknown reason, turns it back to white.
Also, white is not white anymore?
White is... No, white is green. Here, see? Like this.
Oh, okay. All right.
Does that kind of help?
All right.
Not
I
make
think
sense?
we're good. I think I can try and avoid putting things on screen by accident.
Yeah. That happens.
Sorry.
Am I in the right? Can I see your chat? See what it looks like?
It should look like this.
You're
not in the right one. So see this?
Oh, do it. Got it.
Oh dear.
Let's see, might have to log in again.
Cool. Quite all right. Yay! Thank
All right,
you.
So, that full white circle is not white. It's green.
It's over here now.
Yeah. That middle,
TSM
that red,
Space,
white, blue.
thanks for tuning in on
that
YouTube.
middle white
We're
is
going to be
actually
talking
green. It's
about
only gonna be a third.
microbes that live in strange places.
Oh, okay, got it. so it's not going to go on its own
microbes
screen?
under the seafloor,
Correct.
microbes living
Only
in
red
like,
will,
contaminated mine
and then
waste
blue
water,
will
and
push
how
to
we
the
can use
host
science to
Okay, got it.
And if you want to like
understand
make
more
anything
about
white
them,
again,
why
it's
they
actually
live there,
the
what they're
far one
doing,
that's
and
got
also like
logo.
how we can use them
Oh,
to
okay.
remediate places.
So
really,
screen.
neither one of you should ever really worry about the lower third stuff.
Got it. Didn't think so.
Just blue and red.
Got it.
Cool. You might see some pop up the screen. That's probably Ben or I going, okay, well, this is kind of relevant, but you don't have to talk about it. Stuff.
I feel like from here, I'm not going to even be able to read what's on the screen.
Got it.
Yeah. Here, watch your screen that you're in right now, and I'll make this green so you can kind of see what it looks like. It pops off really quick and goes, cool, that's a thing.
Yeah,
and it
kinda.
pops
Oh, that's
away
really
quickly.
cool.
Yeah.
I dig it.
The nice thing is that when you're in host room, you can see what's already been addressed because it stays green.
That's amazingly beautiful. Cool beans. Hell yeah.
Rose, your image looks great, by the way. Your camera is like.
Your camera down just a smidge to get her face in the top there.
You want it down a bit? Oh, are you able to tilt the camera down just a little bit so there is slightly less gap between you and the top of the frame? Oh yeah, that's great.
Better?
That's better. Awesome.
Yeah, it's just my laptop camera, so.
Yeah, awesome. And you're coming through nice and clear, so we can hear you really well, which is great. We're just making some real-time adjustments to the set in real time, but
What did you do, Ben? What
we're
did
good.
you do?
We've still got
We good? Everything?
we've got 6 minutes, so before we start proper.
You got a good cold open?
I do, that I wrote out. Hi, welcome to Tomorrow. My name is Jade, and this is our first Science Show 2019. What do you think are the most extreme places that life calls home? Well, today we're talking about bacteria that live inside the seafloor and those that live comfortably in contaminated
I be Ben?
waste water.
I'm Ben.
Your name is Jade, Lisa?
Hello, Lisa. Hello, Jade.
Yeah, I read my script.
Hello.
And then I realized I wrote Jade's name. You could tell I was reading a script because I didn't even read my name properly.
They'll read anything.
Look at the camera, Lisa.
Hey, how you doing?
How you do? Let me hide all these nasty.
So for a cold open,
Yes.
did you want to take the first half? I mean, like, it's not really in your words, but if you feel like,
You can do it.
and then do you want to do the second half?
Space.
The second half's pretty generic.
Yeah, of course. The second half, let's see. So you're doing cold open, and then I'll do when we come back, or wait, what are you referring to? I'm sorry.
You know how we like we used to split the cold open of like, we're going to talk to this person, and then like it jumps over to the other person, and they're like, and then we've got your comments from the community.
That's right. Oh, okay. I remember now. It's been so long.
I know, it's been like 2 months.
I know. Yeah, of course. Definitely. And then when we come back, we are taking a break, right? Between interview and comments?
Yeah.
So then
I've
take a
not
short
changed
break.
this show because
Cool.
there's been way too much change lately.
Right? This is
Gotta give you guys
we
a
need
break.
something to hold on to.
I don't have comments in the rundown.
There's only one. Oh, did I not link it?
I don't have a comment in the rundown.
Stand by.
Will you need me for the second half or just the interview part?
Just the first half, Rose. The first half is your interview. Then we take a commercial break and go to just like comments from the last week's show. So we will do, the way it'll run is we'll do like, hi, my name is Lisa and this is Jade. Welcome to the show. And we run like a pretty fancy like
All right, I got it.
opening package. And then we come straight into your interview. Oh, have you got it, Dada? Okay.
And then you'll tell me when I can switch off.
Yes. So basically, well, sort of. It'll be pretty clear when we're done with the interview because we'll be like, thank you for joining us, blah, blah, blah. Now we're going to take a quick break. And as soon as you see that first commercial break run, that's when you're good to go. And you don't have to stick around. I don't think we have the ability to hang up the call on our end. So yeah, as soon as you see the commercial break, you can just go about the rest of your day.
Okay, thank you.
No worries. Okay, Jay, did you want to have one run through of the cold open?
Yeah, totally. So I just mentioned, and when we get back, comments from you. Welcome to tomorrow.
Yeah, Discovery
2.01.
That's it.
Yeah, I got it.
All right, it's going to be a practice. I'm just going to go for it.
Let's do it.
Hello and welcome to Tomorrow. My name is Lisa and this is our first science show of 2019. Today we're asking you where the most crazy places bacteria could exist on this earth. We're going to be talking about microbes that live deep beneath the sea and in contaminated contaminated mine waste waters. Yeah, something like that, where I don't screw it up. And then Jade?
And then, of course, when we get back from our short break, we will talk about comments from you, the community, this is Tomorrow Science, Discovery 2.01.
Yeah, you can tell we're not rusty at all. Hasn't been 2 months.
Is that what you're going to say for the cold open?
Yes, except I totally left out that we have Dr. Rose Jones with us.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Can you tell I'm off my game today, guys? I just feel so tired.
Yeah, it's a sleepy day. It's a very
I don't know. I didn't even go to bed late. I'm going to try that again.
I did.
Hello and welcome to Tomorrow. My name is Lisa and this is our first science show for 2019. Today we're talking to Dr. Rose Jones from the Bigelow Laboratory for Ocean Sciences about the weirdest places microbes can live. We're talking about microbes that live inside the seafloor and in contaminated mine waste waters. And then Jade, what do we got after that?
And then we'll take a brief break, and as soon as we come back, we're going to talk about comments from you, the community. So go ahead and stay tuned. This is Tomorrow Science Discovery 2.01. And don't worry, I won't say stay tuned, because I know he doesn't like that.
It doesn't matter what he likes, it's fine. That was much better.
Yeah.
I didn't even read the script. Why did I even write one?
Right? You got this.
Yeah.
The script is your brain.
Let us know when you're ready, Ben.
Let us.
And then we'll go to the cold open. The actual open, the warm open. I don't know what you call that.
The room temperature.
Chat room's probably
open.
like, who are these people?
Wow.
Hello, somebody called Space. I guess, yeah, we'll come back and then I'll take it again and introduce Rose and ask the first question. And then we just...
boomerang. And I like the layout you put in here a lot.
I'm ready when you are.
Cool. Feel free to pull any of those questions that I've put in there, or chat room.
Stoge.
Absolutely.
Stoge.
Yep.
Stoge.
Copy.
I'm ready when you are.
All right. Ready, Jade?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, Rose, we're going to do our little introduction-y thingy, and then we'll get straight into it. Hello and welcome to Tomorrow. My name is Lisa and this is our first show of 2019. We've got Dr. Rose Jones from the Bigelow Laboratory for Ocean Sciences and we're talking about the crazy places where microbes can live. They're living underneath the seafloor and in contaminated mine waste waters. And then Jade, what else do we have?
And then we're going to take a really quick break, but when we come back, we are going to talk about comments from you, the community. So we're going to get into some pretty exciting stuff for the first episode of Science on 2019. Welcome to Tomorrow Science Discovery 2.01.
And thanks for sticking with us. So like I said, we've got Dr. Rose Jones, an environmental microbiologist from the Bigelow Laboratory for Ocean Sciences. Rose has studied using bacteria to help remediate environmental damage caused by mining. She's also used laboratory-based techniques to supplement natural spring water supplies and has studied microbe communities that live deep within the ocean more than 2 miles below the surface And also, wrapping it all together, she's kind of looked at how these techniques may help us study extremophiles, or microbes that live in extreme environments, on places like Mars, Europa, Enceladus, and out into the solar system. So, Rose, I just wanted to say thank you so much for taking the time to come and chat to us today.
Thank you.
So to start us off, I kind of wanted to jump straight into one of the big research projects you've been working on previously, where we take, mining sites and the damage that they cause to the environment and use bacteria to kind of make that better and remediate the environment. But I want to start off by asking, what are these environmental problems that get caused by mining, and why are we actually trying to fix them?
Well, when you dig the rocks out of the ground, you end up leaving some of it behind. So the small amounts of rock ore that are left have different metals in them, and the microbes can eat those metals. There are a particular kind of microbes called chemolithotrophs, and you'll hear me talk about these quite a lot. Those are microbes that literally will eat the rocks.
Oh my goodness. So they get all their chemical energy from the rocks?
Yes. And they eat the rocks, and by eating the rocks, they change the chemistry of the environment, which causes the mine waste. So it can be very acid. It's basically like battery acid. It's a big soup of nastiness, which obviously isn't very good for the environment, which is why we then have to then clean it up, because otherwise it gets into rivers, it gets into the soil around, and it starts to poison everything.
So we've got this acid kind of waste coming out into the environment. Is there, say maybe you're at a copper mine, are those heavy metals also being leached out into the environment as well?
Yes, and you can see in the picture you just showed, there's no plants, and that's all because the rocks and the soil is being poisoned so much that there's very few plants that can actually survive there.
Oh my goodness. So it's sterilized the surrounding environment?
Yes.
And
it's poisoned everything.
Oh my gosh. And is there any hope to regenerate the ability to regrow anything there?
There are certain ways that you can do that, and that's one of the reasons that I've been looking at the remediation. That's what that means. Remediation means cleaning up the environment. And you can do it, sometimes you can use certain chemicals, but the way I've been doing it is using bacteria, because you can do the same job without throwing a load of chemicals at the same thing.
Got it.
So what kind of bacteria did you introduce into this mining waste environment, and why did you choose that particular species of bacteria? I'm guessing you can't just use any bacteria that's out there. You've got to pick one that is going to work for that environment.
Yeah, the way this particular microbe actually came from the environment that we wanted to clean up. It's an ancient copper mine in about an hour away from my hometown called Paris Mountain, or Mynydd Paris. And it was once the largest copper mine in the world. So it's been poisoned for 4,000 years. And in that time, there were microbes that had adapted to living in these really harsh conditions. Mm-hmm. And we managed to isolate one of those that would grow as long streamers. So it looks like long strings of slime. And we took it out of the environment and then stuck it. If we change the environmental conditions that we give it in the laboratory, we can get it to, instead of working against us, to get it to work for us. And instead of putting the metals into the water, we can get it to take the metals out of the water. Mm-hmm. So the beauty of this one was that it was a native to the environment, so we weren't even introducing anything.
Nice, and that was actually going to be my next question. So it's already so it's already natural to the environment, but is there any potential for like an overgrowth? Say these bacteria get a little too comfortable, and is there any potential like negative effects that a lot of these bacteria can have?
I mean, that's the whole point of the acid mine drainage is caused by these microbes getting too comfortable. So the problem's already there.
Got it.
Where we did it was take these microbes out and put them in we would put them in a separate tank. In this case, in the laboratory. And so they were contained, and we could then change the conditions to get them to do what we want.
Got it.
A lot of these systems, you will put them in a tank. So keep them separate.
So I've got another question here. This one comes up from our chat room, actually. It comes from Astro YYZ, who's watching on Twitch. And they want to know, can bacteria be used to clean up other polluted areas and things like oil leaks?
Yes. You can do the same thing. So there's some research going on, which isn't my area of expertise, but there's research looking at doing the same thing for oil microbes. So taking a microbe that we know eats the oil, making lots of it, and then feeding it the waste oil. So then it will eat the waste oil for us. There's also some research looking at recycling e-waste, so electronic waste, in the same way, getting the microbes to dissolve and eat and change the chemistry of the waste, so to peel off things like copper from wires and gold from circuit boards.
It sounds like there's a lot of different impactful ways that bacteria can help us clean up our planet and make it a little better for all of us. But with your research in the acid mine drainage and that bacterial system that you said was working in the laboratory, is there a plan to like scale that up and like take those tanks that you had in the lab and move them out into the field and kind of get that going like in situ?
That particular one, my particular work, not at the moment, but there are similar sites popping up all over the place. There's one in a mine down in Cornwall that was running for a while, and you can use the same sort of technology in all sorts of different places. You can also use it to extract metals from the rocks in the first place. So you can use them to mine the metals and then clean up the waste afterwards. And there's a lot more of that going on. I think it's something like 20% of the world's copper is made by using microbes as miners.
So, and all of this, I mean, it's a very, I mean, at the end of the day, like what you're doing is extremely important. And it's, I mean, especially with the, very, very rapidly degradation of our environment. So what kind of led you down this path to discover these or to work on these really clever solutions for things like pollution and whatnot?
I like microbes that live in weird places, and the weirder the better. But I also, in working with these microbes, I could see that there are certain questions that we can use them in order to, they can provide an answer. It's a lot more work on the front end, so you have to do an awful lot more thinking and designing rather than throwing just a chemical in. But when what you get out of it is a system that's usually more, it takes less energy to run, so it's more it's more sustainable, I should say.
Coming back to microbes that live in weird places, because that's what you like to research, I want to flip for a second here over to microbes that live kilometers below the surface of the ocean and actually within the rocks that make up, the oceanic crust. Because here I am thinking, okay, when I first read this, I was a little bit confused because I was like, hang on, all right, we've got the sea floor. I've seen images before of like black smokers where, hydrothermal vents where the volcanic processes are like spewing up gas and stuff from the bottom of the crust. But then I heard that there are microbes living within the rock of the crust. Like, isn't that solid rock? Is this actually possible, or are there actually microbes living that far underground?
yes, we know there are cells and we can see them, but when you think about the actual crust of the Earth, it's not actually just a single solid block. It's actually full of cracks, and there's water flowing through those cracks. Just like you would get water in your groundwater in your basement, it's exactly the same in the Earth's crust. And if you think about the hydrothermal vents, the black smokers, there's water coming out, so it must have gone in somewhere.
Oh, yeah.
And this water then percolates through the Earth, and it changes as it goes along in the crust. And that's how it ends up spewing out with all the metals, which is actually what the black is not just smoke. It's the metals falling out of the very hot water as soon as it hits the cold seawater. And that water's got to have come from somewhere. So, and the microbes then, the cells attach themselves to the rock, and they have the water flowing through. So it's not just a solid block.
So we have water coming down through these cracks, and we know that there are microbes living on the rock there because of research groups like yours that take trips out to the middle of the ocean and actually dig down and find them. So for your research group, you actually took a trip out to the Mid-Atlantic Ridge. Could you tell us a little bit about that trip?
Yeah, it was 4 weeks at sea. We had to load everything we needed onto the ship, because when you're in the middle of the ocean, you can't really just go to the shop and get whatever it is that you forgot to pack. And you then spend days and days steaming out to the middle of the ocean. And when you get there, you've then got to get through 2 miles of the deep sea. And to do that, you'd need a submarine, or in our case, it was a remote operated vehicle. So those are robots which you take, and then you have like a cord that attaches to the ship, and the pilot's there telling the robot where to go, and they have like these joysticks. They're awesome. They can get these robots to do everything, and then they have the arms and they manipulate what you want them to do. And at that point, we were going back to an experiment that had been installed 6 years previously. So we went back, and our samples were suspended in holes in the seafloor that had been drilled. So we were there to go back and pull these samples out, just like a cork from a bottle. And then these samples were small pieces of rock, which we'd left there as a sort of like cheese in a mousetrap, essentially, so that the microbes would come and collect on the rocks, and we could then pull them out of the seafloor and take them with us. Because trying to get a single cell that you're trying to study from the bottom of the deep sea all the way up to where you want to study them can be quite a challenge.
What was that feeling like when you guys, you take 4 weeks at sea, you finally reach your study site, you get, because it's a whole process, right? You get the little undersea robot all the way down, you get to the sample well, you finally be able to bring those samples back up to the surface. And what's the feeling there? Is it a giant sigh of relief, or is it, oh no, now the samples are in the air, we need to get them quickly processed so they don't degrade over time? Like, what was the process once the samples reached the surface?
Well, it's definitely more the second than the first. It's like, yay! First of all, you've got to, because we're dealing with things which, it's like, do you get your samples up at all? A lot of the time when we were taking up these samples, sometimes it would break off, parts would break off, so we'd only get half. Or in one case, we pulled it up and the weights broke halfway, so we lost it and then spent a few days trawling the seafloor trying to find it. And he was like, do we find these samples? And we found them. It was awesome. It was really exciting when it came up. We were like, yes, we've got everything back. And then, of course, you've got to hurry to make sure that these things aren't exposed to the air or just to us, because there are microbes on us. So you have to keep them as cold and as wet and as sterile as you possibly can. So everybody's running all over the deck. There's bits piled everywhere. We've got tools trying to pull everything apart. And these things have been sat there for 6 years on the seafloor, so they're full of gunk and you get covered in muck. And it's, yeah, it's a bit frantic for a while. You definitely need hard hat and a boiler suit because you get covered in slime. And but then after, and at this point, that particular site, they came up at like 3 a.m. in the morning, so you're half asleep. By the time it gets to lunchtime, everything's calmed down, everything's in the fridge. You're like, finally. And then you go and have a nap, and then do some more samples until the next day when you have to get up at 3 a.m. to do everything again. So it's quite manic.
Absolutely.
It's great fun.
Yeah, so pretty involved process obtaining the samples, but what happened to them once they made it back to the lab?
I've been looking at them using a particular technique called bioelectrochemistry.
Oh, wow.
And what that means is these microbes like growing on the rocks, but because they like growing on the rocks, they're very hard to study because it's hard to separate them from the rock. The only really way you can tell if they're doing anything is by counting the cells. But if you're counting a cell, you don't really know whether it's alive or not because it's just sitting there.
Mm-hmm.
So what I've been doing is we know there are certain kinds of microbes that they can eat the rocks whilst they're still solid. So they might be eating iron or sulfur or whatever, but that's inside the rocks. So the energy is coming directly from these solids via just electrons, basically. And all chemistry and all getting of energy and all of eating comes down to moving electrons around. And we can also give them electrons via electricity. So I've basically been plugging my machine into the mains power, changing the energy level so that the microbes think that they are eating iron when they're actually eating just electrons. Oh. And from that, we can measure changes in the electrical output. And from that, we can tell whether the microbes are growing or not. So it's a way to track the growth of these microbes, which would otherwise be very difficult to study.
Are there different groups of microbes that prefer different voltages? Like you mentioned, you can trick them into think they're eating iron, but are there some microbes that prefer eating sulfur compounds instead of iron-based compounds?
There are certain microbes that, yes, will eat sulfur or iron or whatever else, but it's kind of a little early to tell whether we can do that via bioelectrochemistry because to start with, no one's ever really done that in the deep sea the way I'm trying to do it, so we can't really say for sure. But when we look at similar systems we know of on land, it might be possible, but again, we haven't really done enough research to be able to say that because it's still in the very early stages of figuring out how this works.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So we actually have a pretty interesting question from Twitch on our chat from Alien Mind. And they're asking, can you teach those microbes to survive better on Earth's surface or other environments?
Usually, we don't teach the microbes that we're finding particularly, because if we want to get a microbe from a particular environment, we will go and get it from that particular environment because microbes are everywhere.
Exactly.
So it's quicker and easier at this point to go to the environment that's similar to what you want. So for an acid mine drainage system, you would go to another acid mine drainage system. But as technology moves on, we might be able to design and transfer characteristics to make that happen.
Yeah.
But at this point, it's still easier to go and get the microbe entire.
Yeah, and when you think about it, that's kind of like pressing the fast forward button on the whole evolution thing because, I mean, these microbes have evolved to adapt to their environments. But if we are, as an external source, are able to just manipulate them or, kind of make them adapt pretty quickly, then I think, the repercussions of that would be pretty profound.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I want to talk a little bit more about, you mentioned that the work that you're doing hasn't really been done. These microbes haven't really been studied in depth that much before, which is why you guys are going to these extreme environments and trying to find them. Why do you think those microbes are in that particular ecological area? And what do you think would happen if, if we made a habit of deep sea mining, for example, mining the sea floor? Now we know that stuff's, actually down there growing. Are there any potential repercussions on a larger scale that could happen if we keep disturbing these microbes that we don't really know that much about?
Yeah, that's a really good question, actually, because we don't know what would happen. We don't know if these microbes, because these environments are very cold and dark and there's not much for them to eat, they may not be doing very much. So it might be that they never do very much. But on the other hand, it might be that they do a lot just because of the amount of seafloor that there is that they could be working in. So if we disturb them, we might be disturbing all sorts of cycles like burying of carbon or releasing of nutrients into the sea. And there's also, with the deep sea mining in particular, we don't know if we end up with acid mine drainage on the seabed. We don't even know whether that will be a thing or whether the seawater will be enough to dilute it. We don't know any of these things. But if we go there and we interfere with the environment before we understand it, then we risk creating a whole load of problems for ourselves that we don't know how to answer yet. And we also risk just destroying things before we even knew that they were there.
And that happens to be a point of contention that comes up on this show a lot, actually, is when we're talking about all of the big plans we have for Mars. But as you said, even though life might not exist on the surface, it can definitely, there's a possibility it can be below surface. And so that's kind of like a debate we have ongoing between the hosts on this show is, well, it's like you said, we don't know what detrimental effects we could potentially have. I mean, we could potentially wipe out like a little tiny ecosystem for all we know. So that must be really interesting, having to kind of balance the uncertainty with the benefits of the actual research.
Yeah, I mean, for us, it's slightly easier in that we know we can see the cells, we know what the cells look like. If you're talking about Mars, you might not even know what you're looking for.
Exactly.
I think that's a great segue into the last part of this interview that I wanted to get to is these microbes that are living so far down beneath the sea. I'm guessing they're exposed to really high pressures and temperatures that are very different than microbes that we usually think of. And so these are really extreme environments. And is what we're learning from studying these microbes going to help us study microbes on Mars that we're looking for, or Enceladus or Europa? How do those two things relate to each other?
There's an awful lot of parallels between studying the microbes in the deep sea and how we think about studying life on other planets. To start with, we think about deep sea as being, like you say, cold and dark and really extreme, and also really remote and full of weird and wonderful things. And we think about it in a very similar way as we think about what we might find on other planets. And because these are so extreme, the idea is that the laws of physics and chemistry are going to apply the same on Earth as to anywhere else. So, at least as we understand them at the moment. So, if we can find life living at very low pressure and very high temperature and what have you on Earth, then it's a good chance that we could find them elsewhere. If we can't find them, then maybe it's less likely that we would find them there. And because space is so very big, you can't just... It's like looking for a needle in a haystack. So the more we can target where we're looking for and be intelligent about where we pick these things, the easier it would be to concentrate our resources on finding where it's most likely to be.
Well, hopefully we can take all those lessons learned and hopefully end up finding life on other places sometime. We've got a lot of questions coming in from the chat room here. They're actually not, they're related, but everyone is really excited about bioengineering, which is a little bit kind of different than what we've been talking about. But I'm just going to dive right into St. Alex. Coming back to you feeding your bacteria electricity, St. Alex wants to know if microbes like electrons, do you think that they could be used as growable fuel cell membranes?
Yes, there's actually quite a bit of, in fact, most of the research on bioelectrochemistry is looking at fuel cells. And you can find these microbes in mud and everywhere. So there's an awful lot of research being done on, okay, well, if we have a wastewater plant with a load of organic waste, can we tweak the conditions to get these microbes to grow? So whilst they're eating our waste, they're also kicking out electrons, which we can then capture and convert into electricity. Each microbe won't generate very much, but if you can get enough of a density of them, then you can start to generate measurable amounts. It won't solve all the problems, but it can help.
Interesting. And then going back to the application of this, Slapstick Mojo on Twitch asks, although microbes and sickness are often a problem in space, could there be any major benefit in spacecraft system use?
See, now there you're shifting into things which I don't know. I wouldn't say I have a whole lot of expertise in.
Okay.
But one thing I could say, is that it depends on the problem that you're asking. Mm-hmm. If you're talking about getting metals from a mine, say you're thinking about colonies on wherever you happen to be, and you want to get these metals out of the place that you're living rather than shipping them from Earth, then I could say, well, yeah, maybe you could, because there are microbes that grow in acid mine drainage conditions that don't need oxygen. So you could set them up and they might be quite happy doing that. Mm-hmm. That's way in the future.
Absolutely.
Yeah. many years of research down the line, but I mean, it could be a really nice way to take microbes and bioengineer them into use cases where they benefit us, maybe even on Mars, to help us mine metals and ores. And coming back around to bioengineering, I want to bring up, it's more, I guess, a comment rather than a question, but I think they raise a really good point, and I want to get your perspective on the, I don't want to say ethics, but like the what we could be getting ourselves into by bioengineering. So Elmar says, I'm not sure if this has been mentioned, but while this sounds quite interesting and useful, I'm reminded of the novel Wind by Kevin Anderson. And basically an engineered microbe that consumes oil is released to clean up a massive spill. But it ends up taking out all oil and plastics. Far-fetched, yes, but could it happen? So do you think we're at a point where we understand enough about microbes and their ecology and the way they function to be able to be messing around with these ecosystems to kind of benefit humans? Or do you think we have a little bit more to learn before we should start engineering these microbes or putting them in places where they don't naturally live?
That's a really good question. And it's definitely worth thinking about these things. When we're thinking about putting, for example, the acid mine drainage systems, one of the things that we will do is try and keep them, at least in the systems that I was dealing with, we were thinking about that in terms of taking the native microbe out and putting it in, or keeping them in tanks and things. But it also depends on the environment that you're talking about. So if you think you understand enough about the environment, then maybe you could make that judgment. But there's an awful lot of environments where we just don't know enough to be able to say one way or the other. but it's certainly something that's worth considering when you're weighing up whether a project's worth doing or not, or at least whether we should do it or not. Although I will say that humans are already changing the environment so much that in some ways it's a case of, well, how do we get the environment back to how it was before we messed it up, like with these acid mine drainage environments, with these poisoned landscapes. And at that point, it's, well, we might be introducing something else, but it will also hopefully make it better. So does that balance it out? It's a really interesting question, though.
So you've already done so much fascinating research. What are some of your future plans for research or for this project?
The next steps, at least for my research, I'm continuing to look at the microbes in weird places, and particularly the microbes that eat the rocks, the chemolithotrophic microbes, because I think they're very interesting in there are so many potential things that you can do with them, but also there's an awful lot of rock out in the environment. So, and they grow in all of these weird places. So if we can say, okay, these microbes grow in this weird place, can they grow in this really, really weird place? And there's just so many weird places that they could be growing. And I'm like, I want to visit them all and find out.
Fantastic. And if people wanted to find out more information about you, Rose, and also the Bigelow Laboratory for Ocean Sciences, where can they go?
There is the Bigelow website if you want to find out more about the laboratory where I work. And I also have a website and a Twitter account, which I believe you have the contact details for. So feel free to contact me on that if you want to know more.
Wonderful. Once again, thank you so much for taking time out of your Saturday to join us and talk to us about the incredibly strange places where microbes live. It's been an absolute pleasure, and thank you so much again.
Thank you.
All right, what we're going to do is, before we take a quick break, we want to thank the people that actually make these shows possible, specifically our Escape Velocity Citizens of Tomorrow. These people contribute $10 per episode to help make these shows go, to help bring us amazing guests like Rose, and to help us share incredible stories of science and how science actually gets done. We also have our Orbital Citizens as well. These are the people that contribute $5 or more per episode, and they help make these shows happen, and they also get a host of amazing awards as well. So if you'd like to know what those rewards are, head on over to patreon.com/TMRO. Now, we're going to go ahead and take a very quick break. Please stick with us, because when we come back, we're featuring comments from you, the community of tomorrow. See you soon.
We've always looked to the stars. They guide us, give us comfort, help us find our way. We see ourselves out there. When we look up, it inspires us. And we long for something we don't yet know. We yearn to go there. So, we venture forth.
We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard. Because that goal will serve to organize and measure the best of our energies and skills.
Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed. It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
The exploration of space will go ahead, whether we join in it or not.
Many think we stopped exploring. But we know our journey didn't end. We've only just begun.
Orion is functioning perfectly at this point.
Come with us and explore tomorrow.
Hello and whoa! I think we just opened up a wormhole.
hold. We need an edit point, and we'll come back to this.
All right, cool.
We don't edit anymore. Well, sometimes we do. We have to. Okay, we have to. What we could have done, and I didn't realize because I was singing the ad music, is we could have pushed the TV out of the way. Well, community, you're watching things happen in real time.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, why is my chat room freaking out?
Give it a second. It gets weird, and then it gets unweird. Oh, interesting. Sudden erosion.
Christian, we came back from break and we still have TVception. So I think they are working to get a graphic on the screen so that we don't have TVception. And then we will redo that coming back from the break thing because we're a live show and we can...
That's cool.
We can do what we... Wait, can we like fist bump in real time?
And then it'll... Look at that!
Oh, man! Christian says it's so pretty. Yes, it is. Wait, oh, you know what I can do? Christian, I can put that on the screen. You're welcome.
Sorry,
I learned how to do a
freaking out
thing.
about this.
Also, I need to not use this pencil thing. It makes me do things I shouldn't do.
Jesus Christmas. I didn't even get to see.
Peter Quinn. Oh, no, wait, hang on. What am I looking at? TMRO.Space from YouTube. Killing microbes en masse does cause massive sudden erosion.
Mm-hmm.
Indeed. Can't fix enviro. Allowing invasive species to go rampant will increase biologic productivity of a given area. I mean, it all depends on the environment you
Okay,
put
we're
them
ready.
in, right?
Go to black mute, and then we'll come
All
back.
right, going to black? Oh, we're going to black.
Okay. Hello, and thanks for sticking with us. So we are going to go ahead and dive right into your comments from our previous episode, which is where we got to interview Dr. Kirby Runyon from the Applied Physics Lab, and we got to talk all about Pluto, and that was such an amazing interview. You guys loved it. We certainly loved it.
I learned so much about Pluto.
Oh my God,
Like,
I got so excited.
There was like ice spikes that like have fallen over to a particular angle.
Gosh. Yeah, exactly. And I'm pretty sure TMRO made a lifelong friend of Dr. Runyon, so that was always lovely. But let's just go ahead and dive right into this comment. It's a little bit long, but bear with us. It's from YouTube, from Crane Army, and they state, for someone that never really cared about whether Pluto was a planet, the way its status was changed never really felt right to me either. This guest gave me the language and the reasoning to explain why it didn't feel right after many years of simply putting it out of my head. Dr. Runyon also made the point about how language has the ability to change perception. The history of the color blue in language is an interesting case study on this. He's given me the language to realize a perspective and articulate it beyond throwing a tantrum in frustration. That is a rare and powerful gift.
So the reason I put this extremely long wall of text into the comment section, and bear with me, I don't usually do walls of text. I usually cut things down. But I felt like this comment really kind of hit home the message of how language is really important in how we see things in science and how we define them. And they mentioned the example of the color blue. And recently I watched a video about how the color blue in different languages of a few First Nation people, they don't have a word for the color blue, but they have about 20 words, for example, for the color green. And so there's this debate going on whether did these communities have the ability to actually see and perceive the color blue, or did they just see it as another shade of green? And there's not enough evidence either way to see whether did they actually have the cells in their eyes that could detect that blue wavelength of light, Or maybe they could, but they just didn't have a word for it. Because they didn't have a word for it, they just segregate is not the word I'm looking for, categorized it as something that they were already familiar with. And so I think that's important when we look at things like planets in our solar system. Are we going to categorize something as something that we're already familiar with, or do we give it its own category? And how does that affect how we view those objects? I think it's just a really insightful thing to think about, and a perspective I've never considered before. So I don't know if that makes any sense to you. Maybe I'm just ranting about blue and green right now.
It's so interesting. Yeah, no, definitely. Because I mean, that like you said, it all comes back down to perception, and it all comes back down to ultimately, you know, how we view our home, which is the solar system.
Yeah.
And I think that Crane Army brings up a really beautiful point about how, especially when it comes to the Pluto debate in particular, there's a lot of like passionate, like at least at one point, there's a lot of fervor. Like people were really offended and like personally hurt by Pluto's demotion. But what I loved about that interview was he really did put context to it, and he put it into perspective. And like you said, or like Crane Army had stated, it gave you the language to be able to put more words to those feelings. And it's so therapeutic and so cathartic in a way. Because, yeah, I mean, for a lot of people, while we're not yelling at Dr. Tyson, there's also something, you know, inside of us that just didn't quite sit right. And he articulated it so well. And the great thing about that interview is, yes, we talked about all the amazing science, all of the amazing data about Pluto itself, but we really got into kind of a more philosophical conversation about how important classifying things are and how important it is to be able to understand something thoroughly enough to be able to kind of create like a cohesive system of like, this is what this is, this is what this is, and how that does kind of evolve over time.
I think it was important that we heard that side of the debate from someone who is actually a planetary scientist and works on these things. You know, it really added credibility and scientific merit to that argument of for and against, yes planet, no planet kind of thing. So we've got Launchpad Astronomy, or Christian, who talking about New Horizons and Pluto. Christian did an amazing 24-hour Ultima Thule live stream when New Horizons flew past Ultima Thule. Thank you, Christian. We had so much fun on that stream. Thank you for being in our chat room. But Christian did want to say that words mean things to people. Also, classification helps us think about what sort of questions we can ask. So I completely agree. I think you've hit the nail on the head there. Once you give something a label, a category, that defines what kind of studies you do on it and the curiosity that you have about that object. So... All right. So who do we have on next week, Jade?
So this is a very exciting time of the year because you get science back to back. Week to week.
2 weeks in a row.
February 2nd, which is next Saturday, we're going to have Mary Michael Cherrier.
Yep.
Yay, Mary Michael Cherrier, Scientific Engineering Associate from the Lawrence Berkeley National Laboratory. And we are going to talk all about synthetic biology and the modification of bacterial surface structures. So we should be getting into some pretty fascinating stuff. But before we close out the show officially, I want to give a heartfelt thank you to the folks who make this show possible. Yes, I am talking about the Escape Velocity citizens. These generous folks contribute $10 an episode on Patreon, and we also have our Orbital citizens, $5 an episode on Patreon, and we're going to keep going down. Suborbital citizens, $2.50 per episode on Patreon, and last but certainly not least, our ground support citizens. Yes, you saw that font size get several times smaller. These folks contribute $1 per episode on Patreon, and just go ahead and try to take a look for your name.
Might take a while.
I'm sure you have. Okay, great. So a big thank you to all of the folks previously mentioned, and thank you for tuning into this episode of Tomorrow's Science. We hope to see you next week, and stay curious. Darkness falls.
We did a thing.
The stench
Sorry.
of 40,000 years.
We're a bit rusty. It's been 2 months.
My God.
That's fine. I think that's it. We kind of had our after dark in between the two shows, so I think we're going to sign off to everyone. We've got a post show thing we need to do.
Crashing hard right now.
Yeah, so thank you everyone for watching. Sorry for the YouTube issues. Thanks for letting us continue to
I can't
experiment
believe we
with
had
the show.
YouTube issues. That's so weird. That never happens.
And we'll call it a day.
Okay, see you later. Bye.
Bye. Okay, bye.
Okay, that's not how that works.